Alright, so this is where the list starts, and this is where the video starts as well. But before anything else, before I read more disclaimers, I just want to say again, remember that this is just my opinion. Don't take it seriously or anything, and also this will probably be a very raw, non-edited thing. Besides, I'll just include some disclaimers at the start as well, but it's mostly going to be very raw here. And again, this time I'm going to be doing classes, like one class at a time. These should come out every week or so, hopefully, but yeah, we're gonna do one class at a time, because right now I'm also including JP servants, and if I did these all like rarities, like every class of a rarity, these would take so much time. There's no way I could ever do them in one sitting. So we're gonna do them one class at a time, and again, never take anything I say seriously. This is just for fun and games and just one man's silly opinion. Now, also something I have to say, which I didn't prepare beforehand. I had a migraine just now, like literally just now. I was before this, I was resting for a couple of hours, and I kind of brute forced myself to do this because I really wanted to do this today. Hopefully, the video will be out the same day as well. So, excuse me if my voice is a bit messed up and I don't sound too energetic, but you know, I literally just had a migraine, so I hope you can cut me some slack. So here we go. Before any of placements, these are the disclaimers, so, you know, keep an eye open, hopefully. I am by no means an expert of FGO. It's just my opinion. I have played the game for like around 5 years now on JP or so, you know, take that as you will. Also, now that I include JP servants, some of them I don't have the best experience on. So again, I hope you could forgive me because I don't even have all of them. NA servants I definitely have a better grasp on. Also, the main criteria for placement, the main one, not the only one, but the main one is based on what I think the servants do the best and how well they do it. For instance, I'm not gonna place D'eon on how well he farms, because that would be stupid, because she is clearly not made for farming, right? So again, I will rate them based on what I think is their best role in the game. And obviously, if some servants can do multiple roles, great. I'll probably give them bonus points, if anything, especially if they do them well, because there will be some servants that will do that, even on this list of sabers. And also something that matters is that I will compare servants to others that do similar jobs, like single target arch sabers. Will definitely get some comparison between them, which will also affect the placing a little bit. MP1 assumed for pretty much the non-welfare golds, higher for the others that are way more obtainable. It's a complete gameplay list, not a favorites. I'm gonna try to be as unbiased as I can, because obviously there are some servants here that I'm pretty fond of as well, but I'm gonna try to be very unbiased to the best of my ability. Also, if you're watching this later on YouTube, I will probably implement chapters with timestamps as well, so you can jump around if you want, because again, I don't assume most people will watch this entire thing. It's probably, if I had to guess, it's probably gonna be 2 hours or even more. It's 42 servants and I tend to blab around, but you know, I have no idea how long this is gonna be. But again, it's gonna be pretty raw anyway, so it is what it is. And for the placement, some might get shifted after, you know, more gets placed, because it's gonna give me a better comparison and whatnot. And at the end, once everyone has been placed, I'm probably gonna, you know, shift, do some final adjustments, maybe some tweaks, maybe not, but we'll see. And there you go. Those are your disclaimers, basically. Also, shout out to Jax for making this nice template for me to use. Also, the order of the servants placed will be rarity first, and then within the rarity, the release order. For some reason, we couldn't get Yasun to be number 1. I will still place him first, but for whatever reason, Caesar wanted to be the first one. I don't know why, how that works, but yeah. Yasun will still be placed first here once we get going. Also, Tomatiko, thanks for the 4 months, and Daikin with the 8 months on tier 2. Welcome back to the Go Gang, my dudes. So yeah, without further ado, I can't even talk. That's great at the start of something like this. We're gonna get started here. And again, this is much harder to place this stuff, because in the past 1 year alone, since I've done the last list, there's been a lot of changes in the meta for JP. Like, they've added a lot of new units that have added so many new possibilities that were never possible before, which will of course will also be considered here. So again, this is very difficult for me to do, so again, I hope no one is gonna be too mad. I can't emphasize that enough. It's like, never take any of this seriously. Do I rank them based on rarity? That's a good question, actually. So yeah, if someone ends up being like, let's say a 3 or 4 star, end up being in the same tier, that doesn't necessarily mean they're like equal. So I wouldn't really hold too much like connection between the rarities in that sense. I kind of rate them based on how well they do in their own rarity as well. I probably should have mentioned that as well. So yeah, most likely someone who's a higher rarity in a similar role will probably be better, even if they're on the same tier. But yeah, just take that as you will. I didn't want to make separate lists of like multiple different Saber lists as well, just to separate the rarities. We're doing it like this basically. Yeah, exactly, Jord. So here we go. We're gonna start with Mr. Yasod here. I have a list open. I'm going to be using the fandom wiki again. Hopefully you guys are okay with that. Also, I'm using the full screen layout. You should be able to see everything at least, so this is probably better for this sort of stuff as well. So here we go. The only 1-star Saber and only bronze as well. There's no 2 stars, right? Yeah, no. So here we go. Mr. Golden Grease. He's an interesting one for sure to start out with, needless to say. Obviously, his stats kind of suck being a 1-star. That's not a secret. In fact, I can already tell you, that's basically his biggest drawback, his stats. The way he operates, and again, I'm going to be straight up with you, I will 100% rate him as a farmer here, and I'll be honest with you, I would not bring Yasun to anything else than farming. I would not. His kit is not that good, but I'll get to that in a second, because obviously we're reviewing all the servants, but yeah, I will be placing him as a farmer here. So he's an AoE art Saber, capable of actually doing pretty good farm. His numbers are not bad at all for the gains and whatnot. Deck is okay as well. Not that the deck is super relevant in what is his most common use case, which is loop farming, but yeah, so for him the upstairs doesn't matter too much. Obviously it would be preferable if he had higher stats, but you know, a 1-star is a 1-star, so it is what it is. Let's take a brief look at his skills though. And again, these could be better as well. That could also help him farm better, but you know, it is what it is. I keep saying that. I take a shot every time I say that. You will not last for very long. So the first skill, it's a single target skill for 1 ally. Heals them and removes 1 debuff from them, which is always the latest one. 4 turn cooldown, 2k heal. It's weak. What could I say? It is weak. But again, we are not expecting miracles for or from bronze servants anyway, even if he's in the batch of the latest ones to be added into the game, minus Nobukatsu for archers, I suppose. Now, the second skill, another single target allied skill, gives an evade for 1 hit for 1 turn, and also increases the absorb, actually by a good amount, 1000%. So for most classes, this will actually be very helpful here, in that they will probably get all the stars, unless you're like a berserker or an avenger, then maybe not, but still pretty decent number for the absorb. Now there is a demerit as well, so no matter who you target, his own defense goes down 20% for that turn. Again, weak. It's definitely a weak skill, especially if you notice it's a 6-turn cooldown. That is way too high for a skill like this. Even 4 would be fine. I'm not sure why it's a 6-turn cooldown. It is just a pretty weak, another just weak skill. Now, the third skill. This is actually basically, I would say, the only useful one for himself in the farm relay, because this, at least, it's a party-wide attack buff. So, on its own, it's just like a charisma around B+ rank, or A flat or something, if I remember my charismas, at 20% on rank 10. Sadly, the cooldown is higher at 6. Instead of 5, but yeah, and the potential for the skill is actually good if you want to do the meme team of running Argo servants with him, because you know, then he gets team battery, like crit damage for Argo allies, and crit star generation for 3, both on 3 turns. So if you're actually running him as an Argo support, it's not a bad skill at all. In fact, it's a good skill. But if you're not, which again most people will not be in his best use case, it's just a very weak skill, just very weak. So again, his skills are pretty terrible, I'm not gonna lie. Passives, not really anything to write home about in my opinion. Now, then the MP. So no normal effects, just basic AoE arts damage without any buff numbers. But at least the OC is really good for his best use case. It is a 3-turn arts buff for himself before damage, starting on 20%. That is a great OC for his farming, right? That is a very, very great OC. So yeah, on paper, he's not great. But luckily, because he's at AoE Arts, and he has a pretty good MP with 5 hits on it, with a Castoria system, he is actually very capable of loop farming. So again, much like I talked about earlier, that is how I will place him. He's actually a good looper. Obviously not among the best of the best in the game among all classes, but he's a good one. He's definitely a good one. I think the only thing that holds him back are like his damage, his numbers, because he's a 1-star. Oh yeah, about appends, I won't really be talking about appends too much unless they're like really significant. Like in most cases, these are just bonus that can help you, but in this case, it doesn't really help too much. I guess if you get the starting gauge one, you could maybe have more options for CEs, which is great, but I'm not really going to consider that too much here. But yeah, he's a great looper, and honestly, I thought about this a lot. I think I can even place him in A, if anything. Because again, his looping is actually good. It's just that, sometimes he might struggle with damage, especially if you're going to run him on level 60 without like any grails or anything, with just 1k foes. I'm still not sure about it, but I could maybe see him being placed on A. I see some of you guys are writing B+ as well. The damage is not amazing, but luckily Castorias do buff it quite a bit as well. Yeah, but he's actually a very capable farmer at least. And someone who is obviously accessible to everyone very, very easily. We might, okay, I might be able to sway by you guys. We might place him in B+ for now. But I don't want to place him any lower than this at least. We'll see though. I might change it later again once some more have been placed. We shall see. So the next one, now we're getting to the 3 stars because that's it for all the bronze sabers. That's it. We are starting out with, where is he? There he is. Mr. Caesar. Actually good timing, because if you're an NA player, we just got the animation update and his really fat, no pun intended, MP buff. It is good. But so what is Caesar? He is a single target quick DPS / a bit of supporting saber. And right from the get-go, let me check my numbers actually. His attack is actually pretty good for a 3-star. That's something to note. It's definitely quite a bit above average, so that's already good. His numbers are not amazing. Don't let the high MP gain fool you, because his hit counts are actually pretty low, but there's definitely worse numbers out there. I'll tell you that much. So they're okay, I would say. His deck, I think, is fine. Yeah, I think it's fine. I don't think he really needed a triple quick. Maybe it would have been preferable a bit, but it's fine as is with the double buster, double quick. His star generation with a MP quick chain is actually pretty notable as well. Don't sleep on that. He can actually do some star generation, especially with his 3rd skill active. Now, skills. Sadly, the skills are still a bit lackluster, I would say. Yo, Alteras, thanks for the 6 months, man. Welcome back to the Gil Gang as well. So we're starting with just the basic tactics. It's still a crime that there even are some basic tactics in the game. They've been slowly buffing them, so in fact, most of the tactics, I believe, are already buffed at this point. Sadly, he's still one that has a normal one. So it's an AoE team MP damage for 1 turn, 18% 5-turn cooldown. Not great. Just terrible. At this day and age, this is not good. It is just very, very weak. Second skill, another basic bland skill that also has seen a lot of buffs among different servants, but yeah, another just C rank charisma, just not great again. At least this one is 3 turns, so the uptime is better, but just, you know, not good. Then the third skill, which ironically actually has been buffed, so it's a single target skill for an ally. 3 turns of crit damage, 40%. Not terrible considering it's targeted. Usually the standard is like 50%, 3 turns and a 5-turn cooldown on stealth is good. But I understand it being slightly under that because at least it's targeted, so fair enough. Also increases the same ally star generation by 100%. You actually might have seen this if you saw my video on this max stars thing. Actually used double Caesar. It was pretty funny. But yeah, actually can make a real difference, especially on himself too. And does come with the demerit though, so much like Yasun, this one isn't always on himself, but this will also go on the target, so they will get weakened by 20% defense down for 3 turns. Actually can make a difference, so it's not the lightest demerit there is, but you know, there are ways to combat it as well, which, you know, is good. So as a skill, it's okay. It's definitely okay. Not amazing, but at least this one is okay. It's not bad. Passives. Magic Rest C never hurts, especially usually I normally don't like consider Magic Rest to be a big factor if like someone is made to be like a farmer first and foremost. If anything, it's way more notable on servants like Caesar that are obviously meant to do bosses, right? So hard, more difficult content where, you know, debuff resistance can actually make a difference. So it's a nice thing to have, even though it's a pretty average rank. Riding B is very good considering he is quick as his main card type. And Divinity D, again, the Divinity is never really that big of a deal. It's just, you know, you want to tickle the opponent a bit more. Here you go. It's an extra tickle. So, well, it's a bonus, I guess. Then the MP used to be still not bad. I mean, people who used him still know that his MP, especially with his own, you know, skills, it used to be able to do quite a bit of damage. Just a very basic MP, right? Damage, no other normal effects, and then stars on OC. Starting with a measly 5, though, so pretty weak on the OC. But then, the buff. Okay, the OC is still pretty meh, not gonna lie. It's the same. But now it got the basic damage increase like you get with like every MP buff, with a couple of exceptions in history. But yeah, I mean, this might seem a bit intimidating and it's a bit confusing. Yeah, it is. But basically, he now has a gimmick where he gets, it's like a different kind of lower HP equals more damage gimmick here. Not the usual one that just straight up converts HP. This gives him more buffs. But honestly, even at full HP, he still gets buffs. And with the MP damage upgrade as well, his damage potential is kinda ridiculous. In fact, I don't have like a chart or anything of the numbers, but if I had to guess, he might be the hardest hitting. He might have the hardest hitting 1 to 3 star servant single target MP in the game. I would not be surprised. That would make a lot of sense to me. So yeah, this MP is kind of ridiculous on damage. Now he can actually make a lot of 4 stars, maybe even some 5 stars look kind of weak in comparison for MP damage. He is just ridiculous on damage, even with his own MP buff. So yeah, that's Caesar. What could I say? The MP buff is huge. Again, no pun intended or anything, but so don't underestimate his MP damage. He's ridiculous. Sadly, the rest of his kit not that good, but okay, here's a recap. Star Gen, pretty okay. Normal MP gains, they're okay at best. Damage potential, though, really good. So honestly, if you bring some good supports with him, say Scotty, or some standard supports like Waver, Rhinus, etc., you can kind of use whatever, but yeah, he can actually do a lot of work. I'm thinking, like, honestly, around a B+ at least. I might be even willing to put him in A later, but again, he's a good unit. He's just a good unit, you know? Basic, but good damage. Definitely good on the damage. I'll leave him in there for now. Again, shifts might happen later though, so if you're skipping on the video, just, you know, make sure to check the end as well, where we have the absolute final placements. Oh boy, the next one, huh? Okay, we have Gilles Saber. We go from Caesar to this. Okay, so what can I call him? I guess I would call him a single target buster DPS, despite his MP being arts. This is a really weird case. Now, already his attack is like just a lot lower than Caesar as well, which is not great. It's like a lot lower, like almost 1,000 lower, which is a lot for 3 stars. So that's a bad start. His gains also not good. They are definitely below average. I've even used him, so I know. Star generation, forget about it. Does not happen. Just forget about it. So already bad start, I would say. And then much like Caesar, and here it's even worse, he has tactics. And this always blew my mind. Sure, it's AoE, so it's not completely useless, but he still wants to be kind of a DPS himself. It's a useless skill on himself. Completely useless. His MP does no damage. It's a waste of space is what it is. Not only is it an insult by being tactics, which is already a terrible skill in this day and age, it's just useless on him. Second skill, Golden Rule B. Oh baby. Now that MP gain is actually pretty nice, up to 45% for 3 turns on a, you know, so it's up half the time on a 6-turn cooldown. But even with that, you add it here, it's not really gonna help too much. Maybe with some overkill arts crits, you can see some decent gains for sure. But again, weak. Some of these old servants really need an overhaul. These day 1 servants are suffering. Right, then the third skill, which is actually really interesting. Now this skill is actually really good. Like, this is the one part in his kit that is a good skill. It's super basic, but if you notice, it is 100% uptime. It is a 5-turn self-buster up. And also 40%. 5-turn, 40%, 5-turn cooldown. Those are some of the best numbers in the game for a card buff. Maybe even the best. It could be. I don't actually, again, I don't have a shard or anything. That could be the best self-card buff in terms of number, uptime, and like, yeah, it's just really good despite being basic. But that's all he has. So that's what I'm saying. He's probably counted as a buster DPS instead. Now, Magic Resist B, again, can be useful. Writing B, just forget about it. Not like Caesar, it will not make a difference. It will barely matter. Madness Enhancement EX though, now there you go. That actually, again, works for his, you know, what they want him to be, I guess. I mean, I still don't think they know what they want him to be. But, yeah, I mean, it's nice. A permanent 12% buster up, sure. So with this, he's always going to have 52% up. Something to think about, I guess. Then the MP. I don't know what to say. So it does no damage. It is a self-attack up 2 turns. Weird number. And the demerits. Ooh, the demerits. Self-defense down. 50% 3 turns. That's a lot. He doesn't even have good numbers because he's a 3-star. He's even against Lancers. He's going to take slaps. He's for sure going to take slaps with this on. And then the OC is literally the same as Caesar. It is underwhelming. It's a 5-star bomb on base. There's so many better ones out there with star bombs. Weak. Honestly, in a lot of cases, it's not even worth using his MP. Also, what's annoying is that if you want to start with the MP for the attack buff, it means you have an arts lead, which, you know, kind of cripples your buster potential as well. Awkward. Just, what do they want to do with him? I never understood. He's trying to be a lot of things, but fails at being anything. Definitely one of the weakest servants still in the entire game, not just among Sabers. I almost want to put him in D though, because, you know, if you can keep him alive, some of his buster cards can do decent damage, but anything high, I can't even put him in D+. I cannot even put him in D+. So it's definitely one of the bottom tiers. This might only be because of his Madness Enhancement EX and his permanent Buster buff. And even this, I feel like, is somewhat generous. I don't know. Maybe I should be more savage. Again, also, just because we go from E to EX doesn't mean there has to be something in every single tier, by the way. But I might just do this anyway. Yeah. We don't even have an E+, because, you know, kind of pointless at that point, in my opinion. He's a cool character, but man, gameplay-wise, he's very tragic. Like his story, I suppose. Alright, let's get to some better stuff. Fergus. AoE Buster DPS. Again, much like Caesar. Good attack for a 3-star, that's nice. His gains, dog poo. Poo. Because he's a full gorilla deck. And even then, his one quick at arts card, even if you do like a Buster quick arts overkill crit chain, you're not gonna get too much. So gains, you definitely need them from elsewhere. Bring starting gauge CEs, bring supports, because he is gonna struggle getting there himself. But at least he does good damage. And again, with the super monkey deck, gorilla deck if you will, he has some damage potential. First skill, there's some servants who have this skill in the game, mostly day 1 servants, or only day 1 servants maybe. So Bravery A, self-attack up 3 turns, and mental debuff resistance for 3 turns on a 5-turn cooldown. Not bad. Very basic, but not terrible. I wish this was 100% because it's only mental debuffs. I don't know why it's only 40%. It's kind of weak. But at least a 30% attack up for 3 turns and a 5-turn cooldown is okay. It's passable. In this day and age, it's definitely passable. Much better than like tactics. I don't think that even needs to be said. I think this might be a unique skill to him. Maybe. No. I think Lubu also has this. Yeah. So it's a self-defense up 3 turns. 25% on a 5-turn cooldown. Not terrible, actually. Fairly good. Fairly good to give him more sustain. Now, it does come with a stupid demerit, though. So for 3 turns, all your offensive buffs on him will be coin flips. That's pretty annoying. So at least when you're using him, use the first skill first, always, before the second skill, or you're just gonna coin flip this attack buff and you're gonna look stupid. Also your support skills first before as well. Third skill, just your basic Eye of the Mind True, rank A. So again, he actually can get a lot of defense up for himself. And he has a 1-turn evasion. 6-turn cooldown, so not the best, obviously, but it's an okay defensive skill still. I actually prefer Eye of the Mind True to Eye of the Mind False, because at least this has better synergy. Defense up and evasion rather than the evasion and critical damage. So I still prefer this over the fake ones. So his kit is very basic, but I think his kit is just like better than Caesar's and definitely than, you know, Jill. So he's not terrible despite being very basic. I wish he could get more buffs though. Magic Wrist B, not terrible. Also Fergus, despite being AoE, I'm not gonna rate him as a farmer here. I should have said that earlier. I will not rate him as a farmer. Again, in this day and age, almost any AoE servant can loop if you have the correct combo of servants with like a plug suit as well included. But if you have like 0 gauge in any form, I don't think it's not doable, is it? No, even with every option. But yeah, I'm not gonna rate him as a farmer. He's still gonna be a damage dealer here for some more, you know, challenging stuff, I suppose. Thanks for the 11 months, Sagara. Welcome back to the Go Gang. So Magic Wrist B, not bad, honestly. Riding B, again, forget about it. MP, which has been buffed actually, but sadly it's one of those very early buffs, so the only thing they did was just add damage. Every other effect is the same. In this day and age, it would not be like this pretty much. They always do more than just damage buffs now. So, sucks to be a day 1 servant, I suppose, because chances are your MP was buffed early, and it could have been better if it was buffed later. But at least it has been buffed. So again, base damage, not bad. Sadly, 20% defense down for 3 turns on AoE after damage. After damage. Would have been better before, obviously. And then debuff is down for 3 turns after damage. 20% base. Pretty meh. pretty meh. Not really worth mentioning that much. It's an okay MP, which does decent damage because he has good attack for a 3-star and a decent attack buff for himself. Fergus is just a very basic meaty gorilla, but he's not bad. He can do some work, especially if you're lacking on AoE sabers. I think he's like a C+ among his own, you know, comparisons. He's not bad. Someone said B. I could maybe give a B to him on a good day, but right now I don't think I can reach a B. Especially because he can't even loop. So I'm just, again, this is just basically putting him on, you know, against bosses. You would have way better options for farming instead. So there you go. Basic, but still a decent gorilla. C+ is around the average rating anyway, so I feel like that's pretty fair for him. Wow, we already reached the final 3-star. Not a whole lot of low stars for Sabers. In fact, it might be the one that has the least of all classes, of the normal classes, right? Maybe. I'm not sure. Oh, not Fergus again. Yeah, we already did you. Bedivere. Here we go. The OG, the reliable, I suppose. Are we considering JP buffs? Absolutely. This is like up-to-date JP in terms of servants and buffs and everything. So here he is. Now, he actually has the highest attack of all the 3-star Sabers. Just higher than Caesar. Which is, again, this is a very high attack for a 3-star. That's a great start. His gains? I want to say they're slightly better than Caesar, but in reality, they're pretty much the same. They're pretty much the same. So not bad, but not amazing. Just okay, you know? Definitely okay stuff. Kit, or the deck rather, on us, it's the same deck as Caesar. One has a single target quick, one has a single target buster. It's okay. I almost wish he had double arts instead of quick though. Yeah, double arts I think would have made more sense. But yeah, Star generation, not a thing for him. Unlike Caesar, so yeah, he's just gonna be slapping. Now, he also has tactics, but luckily he has a buffed one. Thank God for that. So now it's a 3-turn party-wide MP damage, also slightly higher number, up to 20%, and more importantly, now has party-wide MP gain for 3 turns on a 5-turn cooldown. Now it's actually a good skill. This is a good skill. It's not a terrible skill anymore. It's a very considerable buff. A very considerable buff. So this is now a good skill. Not game-breaking, but it's a good skill. Second skill, self-battery, 30% flat no matter what the rank, and another mental debuff res up. Not all debuff resistance, but mental. But at least his number is higher than Fergus's. Not by a lot, but still. 6-turn cooldown though. I don't think that's fair. It should be 5 turns in my opinion. 6 turns is quite a lot for a skill like this. It is not that good. Again, early game design choices. I have a feeling if he was released later, this would be different. His append skill increase damage against Zergs. Okay, you know what? Again, thank you, chat. I will definitely mention that as well. Again, input like that, feel free to, you know, let me know. Third skill, party defense up 30% 1 turn, and then party debuff resistance 1 turn for 50%. So it's an okay party, you know, protection thing. But he does, with this, he actually does lack a hard survival skill for himself. He doesn't have a guts, no dodge, no invul. This is kind of all he has. So if you're going to be running him, you do need to be wary about this and bring some protection. But chances are a lot of people would run something like Merlin with him anyway, who can provide invul. So it's not the end of the world. But, you know, I would kind of prefer if he had like a better defensive option still. Now, passive Magic Resist B is nice, and Riding A, obviously Buster would be better, but yeah. At least he has 2 quicks. So it's not terrible, but yeah. So yeah, chat, let me know that his this is worth mentioning this time. His append 3 against berserkers. So this is actually useful. A lot of these are kind of useless, but this one definitely useful. So again, it's he's now a better option against Zergs if you want to go the extra step and get his third append as well. 20 to 30% permanent damage against Zergs. Very notable. Now his MP also has been buffed like Caesar's. Buffed way before that though. Good damage. And he has the Buster buff he gets on his OC, which also got buffed. 30% base before damage for 1 turn. Not just, yeah, it's a full-on turn. So if you manage to do like a BBB with the MP, great damage for that turn. Actually, really great damage. It's very basic, but at least the OC is really good, I would say. Now, this is the good old age-old argument, because usually people always compare Bedivere to Caesar, right? Which makes sense. They're both super accessible. Bedivere is story locked, so a bit harder, but I personally, I've kind of always liked Caesar a bit more after his MP buff. But now and then again, that was before Bedivere's tactics got buffed, which was actually a pretty good buff. I like the buff. It's actually good. So I don't know what to do here. It's at least a B, but I don't know. Maybe I still prefer Caesar. I don't know. Maybe they're in the same tier with the tactics buff, because I think it is a good buff, actually. It's a great buff for a single target DPS to have those effects. Maybe I could place them in the same tier now, because I think in the past, when we didn't have Betty's buff yet and we had Caesar's buff, I think I had Caesar just a bit higher. They're a bit different. Like, Caesar is mostly like star focused and, you know, just flat out raw MP damage, whereas Betty has way more or way better team utility, I would say, which kind of makes up the difference, I would say. So this is a very B+ list so far, I guess. So honestly, I might place them in the same tier now. Both are still very viable. Oh boy, here we go. It's time for golds. Many day ones incoming first, because again, remember, this is a release order. So we're going to start with Salter. Saber Alter. So, first of all, attack. Really good. 10.2k. That is a very above average for a 4-star servant. That is good. That's a great start. AoE Buster. Double Buster, double Arch deck. I think is pretty much at home here. Is fine. Now, I will probably rate her as a farmer mostly here. She can actually loop. She will need a plug suit, but she can do it. So I will probably rate her as a farmer here anyway. I think I did that last time anyway, even when Buster meta wasn't even that crazy. So, still, gains are fine. Actually pretty okay. It's near Artoria levels, I would say, which, you know, makes sense, I guess. And, yeah, I like the deck. Good numbers. Not bad. Mana Burst Day. Very basic in this day and age, but you know what? It still, it makes her MP do considerably more damage for that one turn. But besides that, not a great skill. Not a great skill. Instinct used to suck. Now, this is what makes her able to farm, basically. Well, better, at least. She now has a flat 20% battery and, you know, a bigger star bomb, I guess, on a 5-turn cooldown. So you can even do some witch stuff here on a 5-turn cooldown very easily, very accessible. Something worth noting on a 5-turn cooldown battery. It's not a big battery, though, so yeah, you will still need quite a bit of help. But it's worth noting. And yeah, this is the meme, right? She still has a charisma E. Like, yikes. 12% max rank attack. That is, that's a yikes. That's what we call a yikes. Nice shy, I guess. It still helps with farming as well, but yeah, oof. Magic Resist B, irrelevant for farming in most cases, but you know what? You can still use her for bosses as well. You will probably have better options though, but you know. Basic. Anything here? Nope. MP. So, her MP has never been buffed, but if you've been paying attention, it's odd. She is a very unique case in that her MP actually has more damage than a normal AoE Buster would do. So that's probably why it hasn't been buffed, because it kind of has the buff numbers, right? So it's, again, day one shenanigans, call it what you will. I don't know why they decided to do it like this. There were so many weird design choices back then, but yeah, still does good damage because of that. And then a 10% refund. So unlike Saber, who has a 20% refund and a 30% battery, hers is like considerably less. So if she had the same numbers, she would be like so much higher in this list. So much higher. But as is, she does need way more help than Saber does if you want to do Buster farming with her. But still, it's doable. And the damage is actually good. So, honestly, not bad. I don't remember where I placed her last, but B plus A? I don't... B plus maybe? Again, I mean, so far it seems... I mean, I swear this is not intentional, but... maybe because she does still need a plug suit. I don't believe she can loop without a plug suit, right? So I should not give her that much more points just because she can do it. Because let's be real, so many servants in this this day and age can do it, but a lot of them will need plug suits. So I shouldn't give her too much points for being able to do that. Yeah, I agree. I should put Yasum above her because he's much easier to loop with. Obviously, his damage is not that good, but most people would trade, you know, I believe would rather have an easier time looping than, you know, maximizing damage, I suppose. So, yeah. Yeah, double Witch and plug suit Oberon, yes. So you can't do it without plug suit, sadly. But you know what? At least Salter fans will be happy that it's actually still doable. So if you want, you can do it. So I think B is fair. Oh, man. Yeah. Saber Lily, huh? It's pronounced Yasod. You can say whatever you want, but in Greek, I think it was pronounced... It's like it's an IA. It's Iason, I think. So I'm, you know, you can say whatever you want. Saber Lily. That is a... Oof, look at that attack. You'd think she would be a 3-star. She's a 4-star. That is an oof and a half. Remember Saber Alter, who had over 10k attack? They're the same rarity. AoE Buster Sabers. Wow. That's a difference and a half. Now, pretty much identical otherwise, kinda. So, basically what I said for Salter applies here as well. In terms of the numbers and the deck. The only difference, and the big difference, is she sucks at attack compared to Salter. Now, this is actually now a pretty okay skill. It used to obviously suck, but now a considerable star bomb, 20% battery like Salter, and I guess, well, healing up for 3 turns is not terrible considering her MP also has a heal. But yeah, meh. It's now an okay skill, I would say. Not bad, actually. Used to be terrible. So with this, you know where I'm going. She can do the same thing as Salter now can, pretty much. You can do, I believe you can do like a Koyanskaya double Oberon, right? And you can actually loop, because I think that requires a minimum of 10% on turn 2, I believe. Or a 10% regardless, but yeah, obviously, would you do it? Probably not. But at least she can do it, you know? She can do it. Oh yeah, I guess with the 5-turn cooldown, it doesn't have to be double Oberon. It could be double Witch, right? Oberon, yes. So a bit more flexibility maybe, but come on, dude. It's like, yeah. It's still the same requirements for you as well. MP5 Lily does more damage than MP1 Salter. I guess that is something worth mentioning, yeah. It's definitely way easier to MP5 Lily because she's in the friend point gacha after all. Now, other skills, there's the same mana burst, the exact same, so, you know, good for that 1 MP. And then this, which again, I don't think I'll be rating her as a like a boss DPS either, so this is kind of useless here when I'm rating her as a farmer. As a skill, it's not terrible. The uptime is actually good. I wish it was 30% though, because, you know. But it's not a terrible skill though. But on buster farming, it will really not make any difference. Magicus B is okay. Riding C, again, eh. Right, then the MP was buffed. Before any buff, she was like the wettest of the noodles. But now, honestly, considering MP5 is free as well because she's a welfare, she can actually do damage even with her terrible 4-star attack. It still does decent damage, right? But don't expect miracles. And the OC is obviously not as good as Salter's here, but you know, at least she can still do buster farming even without the refund here. And this, I guess, has a bit more synergy with the aforementioned skill 1 now with this. If you do want to bring her against bosses, which you probably wouldn't, unless she was like your only option for AoE Saber. If I rate her at the same, should she be in the same tier? Because she has better damage? Because she should be, right? Like, I don't know. Because Saber, I can't really assume like MP5 for Salter. And she brings more damage, doesn't she? Is there even a difference in how easy they are? They're the same setups though, aren't they? Unless I'm missing something. They should be around the same setups, right? Like, am I missing something here? A lot of people hate her, but you know, you can still make the farm work though. And the only reason she's even getting this high is because she is possible to do that, but I don't know. This is a harder one to place already, I can tell. She can't double Witch's Flag Oberon. Wait, she can't? The battery needs to be 10. Yeah. I guess she is a bit harder. Or Salter is a bit easier to loop, you know? So maybe you know what? Yeah. Much like with some others that I've been doing here, I will prio ease of looping over damage a bit. So, you know what? Sure, I acknowledge the fact that, you know, Saber Lily probably can do more damage than Salter. But because Salter loops a bit easier, still not, you know, ideal or super easy, but it is easier. I'll put a small difference here. If you put Lily with Fergus, it's not fair. How is it not fair? Again, don't compare the rarities. They're not okay. None of you guys were listening to my disclaimers at the start. God damn, I knew this was gonna happen. You can't compare them directly, dude. No, they're on their like own things, dude. Don't worry about it. This is not saying they're the same. This is not saying they're the same, dudes. So just ignore that. I'm not gonna do separate lists for all rarities of Sabers, so that's why. So there you go. Do not compare them directly. It's kind of unfair. Anyway. Next one. This is really gonna take a while, but so be it. More day 1 servants. Okay, we're moving a bit away from Buster, huh? As easy to loop as Salter, exact same setup. Wait, is he actually as easy to loop? Wait. Is she actually? People were saying she was not. Wait a minute. Jordania, okay. I need to make this sure. Weren't you also saying she was harder to, not as easy to loop? Is it the same? Is it the same? She can use 20% twice with 5% 5-turn cooldown. So it is possible with the same setup then. Like the easiest setup they can do, right? Is the same, is what I'm asking here. You need 30% battery for double with Oberon setup, and she's missing 10%. Yeah, but you know, there is still the difference that Salter, you don't need to level the battery. That is actually something to consider. So it's still a bit easier with Salter, not gonna lie. It's still easier, right? Yeah. Because on Lily, you actually need to tend the battery to even have a chance to do it in the first place. What's the point of assuming 1-1-1 skills on tiers? I'm not assuming 1-1-1 skills. I'm saying Salter gets more points because she doesn't need a 10 skill. That's the point. I'm not going to assume 1-1-1 skills, right? Salter works way better if you're not looking at only farming. Yeah, she has a better, you know, performance outside of farming as well, I would say, right? Wait, did you do the math wrong, Jord? So it is not the same, right? It is not the same because it's 20 and not 30, and because she doesn't have the refund on the MP like Salter does, right? So you did do the math wrong. Okay, so I will stay with this rating then. Yeah, this is the rating that stays. Okay, I'm glad we could clear that up, I guess. There you go. Okay, so this will stay. All right, now we're gonna do Umu. Okay, okay, moving on. So, attack. I believe is, yeah, it's just above average for a 4-star, so that's not bad. Definitely better than Lily's, that's for sure. AoE Arts Damage Saber. Deck is the same as the many of the previous one. In fact, again, the numbers are pretty much the same as well. Her extra might have more hits though. I forgot how many the previous ones have, but yeah, it's okay. And she's also capable of doing a triple arch chain, which is, you know, nice for damage. And okay for refund, I guess. Sadly, her MP won't really be refunding much at all, but, you know. I guess her deck is slightly better because of the extra attack. So honestly, it's okay. It's okay. I like the numbers. They're not bad. Her gains could be a bit better, but they're definitely not bad. Now, this used to be a bad skill. Now it's a little bit less bad. Still a bit conditional, but at least it's a guaranteed 30% battery on a 5-turn cooldown. So it's okay. Sadly, I wish you could get the arts buff every time. It's only 20% though, but it is a 3-turn one, but you only get it from water or city maps. Mental leap of resistance for 3 turns. At least hers goes to 100%, so that's good. The other ones did not. Heal for 2k old self. It's a decent cockroach skill, I would say, and now also helps with farm and or against bosses as well. And speaking of which, I honestly don't know what I should rate her not as a farmer though. No, I should not. I should not rate her as a farmer, right? It's she can do it though, so I will maybe give a slightly bit of points. It's not easy though, but she can do some farming as well. So I would definitely rate her against bosses instead. Yeah. I think her kit is way more designed against bosses. Because there's a lot of RNG as well, which would, you know, be annoying on farm as well. You can farm with K-Scope, Double, Castoria, and Oberon. Yeah, so again, a lot of this stuff is doable, but it's not necessarily the best option, so, yeah. So if you want to loop, you need 6 enemies, and if you want to do other stuff, you need awkward supports. Right, Imperial Privilege EX. Potential is insane. 3 turns of 44% attack and defense on a 5-turn cooldown with a meaty heal is insane. But as you guys know, IP is RNG. And I hate this skill more than anything in the game. I absolutely hate this skill. But the potential is really insane. It's an insane potential skill. Really good if you land those buffs. Otherwise, you're going to be sad. Even missing one is going to be sad against bosses. But hey, maybe if you're running some supports that can increase buff success chance on allies. Some countermeasures, I guess. Like Lanling, for instance, right? He's a Saber too. You know what? Yeah, now that I realize it, Lanling and Umu is probably a great combo. How about that? Right, third skill. Her unique skill is what it is. I guess now this is also unique, but yeah, this was what she was known for, and still kinda is. The triple guts. 5 turns, 10-turn cooldown. Number is very small, but honestly it doesn't matter because it's a 3-turn guts. It's a very interesting skill. This is what basically made her kinda, you know, rival Ku in the OG Lord of the Cockroach status, I suppose. So yeah, it's a very interesting skill, huh? This is why she also has viability as a soloer, which is again worth mentioning. I'll probably give her some points as well for actually being a recognizable soloer. Not the best there is, but you know, that's something she can do as well. She can farm pretty meh, she can solo pretty okay, and I think against bosses in general, she's also just alright. Not amazing, but she's alright. Especially if you have good RNG, if you're not gonna bring like stuff to combat this. Magic Resist C, I wish it was a bit higher, but it's okay. Riding B, forget about it. And then the MP. I hate these early buffs, man. Like, the only thing they did was increase damage again. They didn't touch anything else. No other new normal effects. They didn't touch the OC either. But at least she did have a normal effect here to begin with, and it's a decent one. Ignores defense. So, damage is kind of guaranteed. For the MP at least. Not for your follow-up, because this is only for the MP, but yeah, the MP can slap a bit. And again, sadly the defense down. It's only 1 turn. It's after damage. So overall, I still think the MP is okay with the damage buff, but in this day and age, kind of on the weaker side for effects. But still better than many others. I don't even remember where I placed OG Umu last year. I have no recollection, but... So I'm probably going to rate her mostly based on bosses, with some points of being able to solo some content as well. Is she B+ as well? She's definitely higher than Fergus, who are similar in being AoE, not mostly for farming, but for bosses. I think she might be just a full tier above Fergus. Do you guys think she's only like a plus above? I think B+ is fair. So I see some people even saying A. I'm not sure if I can go that high, but I think she should be at least a tier higher than Fergus. Yeah. There's a lot of different opinions about this, huh? Yeah. Again, when I start placing more of these AoE Sabers, I might move her around. But maybe I mean, she's for sure above Fergus, but how much above Fergus? And again, I'm not even... this is not a comparison, by the way, because again, it's kind of unfair to compare 4-star to 3-star, but I'm just saying... Fuck. Okay, for now, I'll slide down to B, okay? For now. For now. Day 1 servants continue. We got Sumanai next. AoE Buster is back. We go back this way. Attack, definitely quite a bit under average. Not Saber Lily tiers. In fact, most servants will never be that tier. But yeah, kind of unfortunate for that attack right from the get-go. Deck, again, is the exact same deck that all these other, day 1 AoE Sabers have. Extra not as good as Umu though. And the numbers pretty much the same across the board. So don't expect star generation. They will not do it. Gains, not that good. Especially Sumanai. You will definitely need some help. Because he doesn't even have a battery, right? Yeah, he doesn't. Skills. Golden Rule C-. 3-turn uptime, 6-turn cooldown, so about half the time. Now, I will not, I should say again, I will not rate Sumanai as a farmer. He cannot do farming really well. He can't do a 3-turn farm at least. Obviously, you can still farm with anyone who's AoE. You will need like MP setups or, multiple... It's just awkward, but yeah, I will not rate him as a farmer, first and foremost. I will rate him against bosses. So this one actually will have some merit against bosses. It will not really solve his issues. Battery would certainly be better than MP gain on him with his numbers, but it's not that good. Second skill, just a basic disengage. Self-cleanse and a 2500 heal. I can't talk. 5-turn cooldown though, yeah. Disengage starting to be very weak this day and age, huh? Yeah. Very, very, very weak. Then his signature, the Dragon Slayer. So, 3-turn, 80% dragon damage. That's actually considerable. Also, flat 30% defense against dragons for 30, not 30, yeah, that would be great. 3 turns. And a mana burst. So, what it is, it's a better mana burst, but only if you're fighting dragons. It's just a flat out mana burst A, that's better against dragons. But let's be real, you're not going to bring him... Unless he's your only AoE Saber somehow, you're not going to bring him, or you just grailed him, or you just love him. You're probably not going to bring him against non-dragons over someone else. But his damage potential, and his survivability as well to an extent, is actually good against dragons. Riding B also kind of sucks for him. He doesn't even have magic rest, which is kind of unfortunate because... Again, he's better against bosses in my opinion, which would be nice to have. Then the MP. More dragon stuff. So, again, if you're fighting a dragon, even on neutral and on AoE, he can actually do a decent chunk. Because he has the good modifier on the MP, especially with his 3rd skill active. It's 2 different effects too. Base damage is also okay. And with the buff, they also gave him... another MP generation for self for 3 turns on 20%. Which even with both this up and this golden rule, his generation is still not great in my opinion. So yeah. I don't know what to do with Sumanai honestly. Because, okay, here's the... I didn't mention this during the criteria, but I'm not gonna... Like, let's say someone has niche like Sumanai here. I'm not gonna rate them only against dragons. Only if the niche is like really common, I will give it way more like points. Dragon, while it's not the most uncommon trait ever, because many servants have it too, it's certainly not a very like a commonplace trait. So I can't really like only rate him as a dragon slayer here. It would be placing him way too high. I would not be okay with that. That's what I've always done with these. That's why, let's say, when we get to extra classes, I will not rate Welfare BBEX just because she's amazing against Avengers, because let's be real, how often do you fight Avengers? Not very often. So again, it's the same principle here, basically. Unsif, thanks for the 4 months, dude. Welcome back to the Go Gang. Also, Fisher, thanks for the 10 months earlier. So let's say compared to Saber Lily against bosses, or Salter here, or Umu. Yeah, I guess we can already do some comparison here. He's max C+, I feel like. I can't put him in the same tier as these. He cannot be on a B. He cannot be on a B. He just cannot be. Maybe even here, honestly. His skills are pretty shitty. Especially if you're not fighting dragons. And his attack is very low as well for a 4-star. I feel like C is okay. But again, this is not rating him based on dragons. Obviously, he's a lot better if you're fighting dragons, then great. He would probably be like at least a B+ against dragons, but I feel like this is where I'm going to place him at. Still not terrible, but a very old servant who could use more love. Alright, now I have to be really unbiased, because it's someone I really like using a lot. So it's D'eon. Now, a very special case. Not a DPS. We have a tank. Very rare thing to say in this day and age. Attack, under average, but honestly, here, I think it's way better that the HP is higher than the attack, so that the HP gets more focus. So here, it doesn't matter if D'eon's attack is lower than average, which it is. The higher HP is a much better trade-off in this case. It's a very rare case, but it is like that. Gains are pretty much the same, again, as all of these other 4-star Sabers. So not great, but not terrible. So, but D'eon's MP is not amazing even after the buff anyway, so you probably shouldn't stress the gains out too much. Can also do an arch chain because the non-damaging MP is an arch one, so you can get a decent chunk of damage for a turn if you manage to land that chain, and maybe a bit of refund. But again, definitely don't really, you know, need to focus on the importance of D'eon's MP. It's mostly about the kit itself, the skills. Yeah, that's a name and a half. I never noticed that actually. So, Mind's Eye True is a great skill for a tank, needless to say. The skill itself, again, not amazing, but for a tank, it's definitely even better than it is for a DPS. So just flat out evade 1 turn, defense up 3 turns, great. Just half of the time you'll have a defense buff here. Maybe not half the time, because you will probably want to time the 1 turn evasion, but, you know, not terrible. Would I think triple arts would be better? Oh yeah, for sure. Triple arts would make way more sense here. So the deck isn't as good as it could be. But a double buster doesn't really make that much sense because D'eon is definitely not a DPS. Skill 2. It's, in my opinion, this is way better than Disengage. It's still not amazing. It both have the cleanse, but instead of a small heal, this has a 100% debuff rest for 3 turns. So the uptime is actually good. Again, it's good for a tank because remember, Taunt actually works for targeted debuffs from enemies as well. Obviously, if they're AoE, it's going to hit everyone. But if an enemy has like a single target defense down, it will go on his taunt. And with this, you can actually negate a lot of debuffs that can be negated. So it's good synergy, I would say, honestly. It's underrated, if anything. Not an amazing skill, but it works with the kit. And then there's the taunt. And it's really good because it's a 3-turn taunt on a 5-turn cooldown. So again, really good uptime actually. And this one has a heal. It's slightly awkward because a lot of the times you would want to pop this turn 1, so chances are the heal is going to get wasted. But in a lot of cases, you can use this more than once per battle anyway. So at least in the other cases, the heal will make a difference. So it's a good taunt, I would say. Definitely a good taunt. Not bad. So the kit, while not being super crazy, it's just synergy all around, which is, again, where he shines the best, in my opinion. Magic C is okay, helps with, you know, some of, you know, negating some of the debuffs when this isn't active. And also, even if this is active, if you somehow still get landed a debuff rest down, this can help as well, because with this, it's 115%. So going over sometimes can make a difference. Riding B just sucks. And then the MP used to be absolutely terrible. Now a little bit less terrible, but still. So all enemies attack down, defense down. Starts 10% for MP levels, so not that big of a deal. If you do manage to get some MP levels, though, these numbers, especially the attack down most notably, can actually be significant. because it's AoE as well. And sadly, the charm is still, it's an AoE charm chance, so the potential is good because it's, you know, it's good to charm someone. It's really strong, but don't count on it. Do not make plans around this. It's just to save you some turns. But yeah, it's only 30%. Luckily, it can hit all enemies, so it's not like it has to be like a certain gender or whatever. So at least there's that. But it's a pretty weak OC, I would say. Overall, the MP is meh. But yeah, it's all about the kit. Definitely a good tank. It's gonna protect pretty well. If you didn't see that video I posted recently, you should watch that as an example. I think B+ is fair. I think maybe I placed D'eon in B+ last year as well. I don't remember, but I feel like it should be around here. Maybe even A, honestly. Tanks are kind of rare. But it's not like tanks are the most needed anyway. But they are nice to have. And D'eon, yeah, maybe A, honestly. And I'm actually happy that you guys appreciate D'eon as well. Considering, you know, I'm the one who's usually biased about him. But yeah, just bring George. The only thing George has over D'eon is the lowered cost. D'eon is better than George in every other way. I'm not gonna lie. D'eon is just a better George in every other way, besides George just having a cheaper party cost, which will sometimes make a difference. Granted, I will not deny that, but D'eon is just a better George. And also, D'eon doesn't steal stars. That's also something to consider. Saber has a lower absorb than Ryder does. George has a defense buff. So does D'eon. What's your point? He's still gonna tank great, you know? He even has much higher stats too, to make up for that. This is a harder one. It's definitely one of these two. B+ or A. B+ or A. I think, even against my own bias, I think I'm gonna go with B+ for now. Maybe I'll change it later. Although this one probably won't end up changing because there's not a whole lot to compare here to, honestly. Because, you know, he's like the only Saber tank. So there you go. I don't know. We'll be there for now. Now, we're finally done with day 1 servants. We made it. And now the long list starts. Rama is the first one of the 4 stars that were not day 1. Added later. Here we go. Single target Buster DPS Saber. Attack above average. Not a whole lot, but still is good, I would say. Good for a 4-star. Deck a bit different. Like, well, still mostly, dude, these Sabers, man. These Sabers, like, most of the hit counts and, like, the gains and everything, they're very, like, close to each other. They're very close. Again, just average. Honestly, I think the deck itself, in terms of the card types, is good, though. He can still do a full Buster Chain. And I think I would prefer this over a full Gorilla deck. I think. Maybe you would want full Gorilla instead of double Arts, but his MP, at least when it's good against the niche, is something you do want to do quite often, I suppose. So double Arch is not that bad. Skills. His unique first skill, which again, in this day and age, kind of outdated. So self-absorb and crit damage 1 turn. He can crit really hard with this active, but it's 1 turn. It goes up to 100% crit damage. Luckily, the cooldown is still low at 4 turns, but man, it's... You will see another servant later that is a very similar servant who kind of just does this better. It's okay. It's still not bad of a skill, but 25% uptime. Usually you would want a better uptime for your crit DPSs than that. For the crit buffs. That's not that much. You have a great burst turn, and besides that, you're probably going to be looking a bit sad after that. Charisma B, at least it's not E, but still weak. Still better than Tactics, I guess. That is his unique 3rd skill as well. It's his defensive option too. So it's a Guts 1 time 3 turns, so pretty weak on Guts standards. It's not even 5 turns, so you can't even pop it too early or anything like that to save some cooldown. And then this one also has a flat heal for 3k, or up to 3k rather. It's meh. It's meh. But at least, you know, maybe, you know, it's nice to have a defensive option though. But yeah, all of this kit just screams too basic at this point. Not garbage, but too basic. Magic Rosé is great. Riding A+, while, you know, the number is good, sadly doesn't do much for him. And Divinity A, it's a nice extra tickle. Now the MP, luckily it took them so long to give him any kind of buffs, but at least they buffed him somehow, and they did it on the MP. So now, good damage. Sadly, the Buster Res down for 3 turns is after damage. It would make a big difference. But it's, again, nice to have as a new normal effect. Another new normal effect they did is if the enemy is demonic, it's a drain the gauge, which again, against bosses, gauge drain is actually very solid of an effect. It is niche though, which goes with his damage needs of anti-demonic. So again, if you're fighting demonic, this is like an EX tier MP, which, you know, I guess it lives up to his name in that sense. But if you're not, it's meh. It's just meh. But again, much like Dragon, it's pretty much like, I think Dragon and demonic are more or less, you know, equally common, which is not super rare but not super common either, like average in terms of like appearance. Maybe demonic is slightly more, you know, maybe you see them a bit more, but yeah. Oh, you think Dragon is more? I'm thinking mostly against bosses here, Jordanian, so like I don't care about normal mobs here. I think mostly bosses would have demonic over Dragon, but I don't know. You could be correct here, I don't know. Not a big difference though, if anything. Rama. Is B okay? Again, I'm not comparing him to Bedivere here. Just, again, different rarities, okay? So don't think this is like a comparison to them. This is like mostly between 4 stars of the options. Some people saying C+. I mean, to be honest, there's a lot of single target 4-star options nowadays, huh? But this is also considering the MP buff. Yeah, maybe because there's so many other options and even some free ones, and like he's not terrible still. He was never terrible, but he's never been amazing either at any point of the game, no matter what kind of other options you have or supports for him or ever anything. So I'm gonna place him in C+, which is again around the mid point here, but I really want them to buff him more. He could definitely use more buffs. Still usable. Alright, now there's gonna be a lot of these. So next 4-star single target Saber, this time arts, and there's gonna be a lot of these arts ones as well. Lancelot, oh baby, he's comparable to those you have on B, but yeah, but I'm not comparing him to, well, okay, I guess yeah, these were the 4 stars. I'm mostly rating Salter on farm though, so that's not really a comparison here. And Umu, I think, honestly, in most cases, I think I'd take Umu even as an AoE for challenge quests, because I like the support options better as well for difficult content rather than farm, so I don't know. Alright, Lancelot. High attack, not a crazy, but pretty high for a 4-star, just under 10k. Now finally, we have a different numbers on the deck now that we got, you know, a bit further away from those day 1 servants. His deck is actually considerably better than all the gold ones we've seen so far. Single target arts, meaning he can also do a full arts chain if you're lucky enough, which is again very good. Gains, so much better than anyone we've seen so far. I would even go as far as to say that his gains are actually very good for the MP. He can even do a tiny bit of star generation outside of the stars per turn skill he has. So he even has decent star game potential, having a 5-hit extra, double 4-hit buster, and a 3-hit quick. So don't discount his star generation either. While it's not amazing, it's something to note at least. So honestly, his upstairs is good. It's very good. Skills. Now, this is, I think, one of his best parts. While the skills themselves are still somewhat basic, they have amazing synergy. They've always had that. So 30% battery flats and a 20 star bomb. Sadly on a 6-turn cooldown. I wish this was 5, but even then it's not terrible. This might just be his weakest skill, to be honest, if anything. Second skill. Now this is stupid kinda. It has great uptime for absorb for 3 turns and 5 turns, but it's 4-digit absorb on a Saber, okay? 4-digit absorb on a Saber Now, this is the same on Berserker, where it makes more sense, where they kind of need 4 digits to get stars. But what this means that now that it's sort of Saber, he gets every star there is. As long as this skill is active, he's the biggest vacuum of stars you've ever seen. Oh, do we have a cursed song playing right now? Alright, there you go. Again, for YouTube context, that doesn't matter because you can't hear any of this stuff. But yeah, this is crazy. Every star. So this makes him an insanely consistent crit DPS. Third skill, his best skill though. Half the time uptime, 3 turn effects on a 6 turn cooldown, 15 stars per turn. Even on nowadays standards, that's good. That's really good. That's still top of the line. And then 50% crit damage for self. Synergy everywhere. Now obviously he doesn't have a defensive option, so you gotta protect him with your supports, but it's not super difficult, and he's a guy that just keeps on going, huh? It's kind of crazy that he's so old but he's still so relevant. I'm talking like not his like this kind of age, but how long he's been in the game. Magic Resist B is nice for bosses, and Riding B, it's not as bad as some of the other ones because at least his is 3 hit on quick instead of 2, but it's still pretty negligible. And then the MP. So he has never had buffs, but he's still good. So first of all, 30% arts up 1 turn before damage. So again, if you do manage to land that full arts chain, especially with crits, it's just a full-on loop basically, and also great damage. Now this OC sucks though. I think a lot of people think it's better than what it is. It sucks. A defense that would be way better. This is the opposite of Divinity. This is enemy takes more damage. So against bosses, extra 1k damage per like a card, it will not make a difference. It is a bad OC. It is 5 turns though, so I guess if you have some debuff synergy maybe somehow, like Arjuna, Alter, Kiara, Summer, I don't really see a reason to ever bring them on the same team. So it's a long-lasting debuff, but it will not really make any difference besides that. But still, at least this normal effect is good. Right. Again, he's honestly one of the ones that truly deserves the title of good old reliable, right? Despite never getting a single buff, maybe someday, he's still very relevant. He will do a good job as a single target Saber. I can't place him in under A. But I think, because there's so many options now, I might prefer some of the other ones nowadays. But he's still a great one. So I think A is pretty fair, honestly. Yeah. Just a good servant. Good servant. Does the job. Right, more Camelot stuff. We got Gorilla, Gawain, AoE, Buster, DPS. Great attack, over 10k as a 4-star. Full Gorilla deck, as his name implies. His gains are still pretty bad. Because it's, you know, hard to actually... with this deck, it's hard to get the cards you need. But yeah, will need some help for sure. Their gains are not good. I've even used him quite a bit, so... You think any crit servant for Saber should be B, Judge again, Lance... Wait, what? I'm not sure what you wrote just now, Jadedia, but okay. Fair enough. You had a stroke there. It's okay. Thanks for the 22 months, Saru. Welcome back to the Gale game. So yeah, his gains suck, but his damage is good. So yeah, definitely bring supports if you use him. Don't bring him with other Sabers. First skill, his unique, his, you know, the one that makes him Gawain, I guess. Flat 20% attack for 3 turns and a 5-turn cooldown, not terrible. And if you're on Sunlight, 30% buster up for 3 turns. So if you are on Sunlight, it's actually really good. Oh, sneeze. Make it double. Okay. All of this will be in the video as well, so hopefully that wasn't too loud. So yeah, if you do manage to be on Sunlight, it's very good. And luckily, it's very easy to be on Sunlight nowadays, because he used to have the shitty charisma. Now he has a better one. So then the number on the charisma is better, not a big deal. But now you can guarantee yourself a Sun Field once every 5 turns, which again, they share the cooldown. So it's great. It's great synergy. So he's a much more consistent gorilla now than what he used to be. Do we count stuff like CZs in Hete? What is Hete? What? Like Merlin to help with MP gain and stuff like that? I probably won't really consider CZs, honestly. Dude, some of you guys are having strokes while you're writing, Jesus. Okay. And then the third skill. Another unique skill. Sadly, a bad skill. 6 turn cooldown, 20% flat battery self, 10 star bomb, and the worst guts possibly in the game. 1 time, 1 turn. It's really awkward because you get the stars and the battery pretty early on usually. So yeah, it's awkward as hell. And again, I should note that I guess you could maybe make some kind of a loop setup work with Gawain, but I'm definitely not gonna rate him as a farmer here. He has way bigger of a presence as a DPS for challenge quests. Magic Resist B is okay, and Writing B sucks for him. His MP sadly hasn't been buffed, so it's not noodle in the sense that, you know, I mean, it's a noodle in the sense that it's a noodle, but because he has a lot of buffs, you know, 20% attack, another 20%, and 30% buster, he can actually do some damage with his MP, but the MP itself is pretty weak, so if you don't have the buffs, it's gonna be a noodle. Now, it does come with an AoE skill seal, which can actually be a good thing, but also it can sometimes be a bad thing. If you're fighting a boss that has like very deadly normal attacks and you would almost prefer them to use skills sometimes, this can be a bad thing, but in a lot of cases I suppose it is a good thing. So MP seal in my opinion is a lot better than skill seal though against the enemy. It's kind of the opposite maybe against us sometimes, although against us both are pretty bad. And then a burn. You know, you guys know what I think about dots at OC. They suck. They're one of the worst OCs you can imagine. They will not make a difference at all. In fact, this is worse than the Lancelot Saber one, because at least that one can proc multiple times a turn. This is only once per turn. So yeah, whatever. Pretty weak MP, I'm not gonna lie. Pretty weak sauce. But at least I like the fact that he can do this now, and they share cooldowns, so it's good. So I guess compared to like Umu and Salter so far of these, and I guess Siegfried as well. Can I place him in B as well? Maybe I can. Maybe I can. Maybe, yeah. I can. One of the Bs, maybe? He still packs a punch. But that's all he does. He just does damage. The only thing he does is damage. He doesn't really do anything else. And even then, he's like, you're putting under Nero. If anything, maybe Umu needs to bump here then, because I don't think I can place him in C+. I think that's too low for Gawain. I think that's too low. Yeah. I mean, he clicks red pretty well though. Yeah, maybe we need to do some adjustment here for some of these. He is more consistent with damage than Umu, I guess. But Umu has way better survivability. Maybe I'll just take the consistency instead, honestly. Maybe this is how it should be. Some people, like you all said, might say Umu should be higher. But this is, I don't know. Honestly, because survivability is not the biggest issue for a kit on a DPS against bosses, in my opinion. I think consistent damage is better to have than survivability, because you can always help that with supports, right? I mean, granted, you can do the same with damage, but I think I might prefer it this way, honestly. Especially after the Nightless Charisma, because it's really good synergy getting... he has very consistent damage buffs on himself on a good uptime. Most of the time, unless you're like skill seared or whatnot, they will be active. And he has a triple gorilla deck. So even without an MP, especially if feeding stars to him, you can actually still have a decent damage for him. So again, if you're watching this later in video and you disagree with some of these placements, that's fine. But you know, there was some of the justification, I guess. So yeah, there you go. Why did I skip OG Artoria? I did not skip anything. We're doing 4 stars now. 5 stars are later, my dude. Don't worry, Artoria will be placed. Next up, wait, is this the... I guess Saber Lily was the first welfare, right? Yeah, okay. But here we go. Brave Liz. Single target Buster Deepster. How about that? Dude, this list will take way longer than I thought, but it's okay. Attack is actually not bad. It's above average for a 4-star. Which is nice when you're a monkey mode character. Not as monkey as Gawain, but, you know, still pretty red. Gains, not good. Don't let the deck fool you with the double, you know, arts with triple hits on them. Even the quick with the 4 and the extra with 5. Gains are still not good. Pretty average at best. Probably actually, yeah, I would say actually under average from using her. They are pretty underwhelming. In fact, honestly, maybe a full Buster deck would make more sense for her. I don't know. But at least her attack is nice. Her star gen is not terrible though, with the 5-hit extra and the 1 4-hit quick. But it's not as good as, let's say, Lancelot earlier, so it's not that good, but it's not bottom tier. First skill, self-invul 1 turn, 6-turn cooldown. So it's pretty much the standard, but at least invul is better than evade. So slight points for that. And then, you know, I guess this is... with this active, you can... well, let's say you have like a AQA with crits. You can actually get gains with this. So she's not completely hopeless with gains, right? Because it's up to 50% self-gain. But again, it's awkward because it's tied to the big defensive skill, right? It's not her only defensive, but, you know, let's be real. In most cases, it is her only defensive option. So, awkward, but pretty standard and not terrible, I guess. Yeah, but 6-turn is the average for a, like a 1-turn invul or evade, so it's not bad. Her own version of Mana Burst. So it's got a slight nerf to the number of Buster Up because it has another effect too for the defense up 20% for 1 turn. So otherwise it's the same as like a Mana Burst A. But again, awkward, isn't it? Because you want to use this with your MP turn. But it's going to be up to fate if you need that defense up for that turn. But honestly, I might still prefer this to like Mana Burst A. Trading 10% Buster Up for 20% defense up for turn. Maybe slightly prefer this, but even then, Mana Burst, don't get me wrong, it's not a great skill. It's just average at best. I guess we do have to talk about this. And yes, it was buffed. So now it doesn't drain 100% gauge. Now it only drains 50%. I might still on the boat with the people that say she's a servant that only has 2 skills, even after this. There is one case to be noted though, that it's not a... It drains 50% flat. And she's a welfare who you can get MP5. So if you somehow manage to go 100%, you could actually use this and the MP on the same turn even. But... even then, the effects are completely random. Like, it's so stupid. And there's a lot of different ones. Like, if you need a party invul for 1 turn, good luck, dude. It's a, what? It's a 1 in 5? Is that what it is? Yeah. Like, oh my god. I would probably still not use this. And with her gains, it's hard to get 150 anyway. Just, even the numbers on the stuff. Like, this is good, though. The 50% buster for 3 turns is good. 1 turn invul is not worth 50% gauge, though, for party, I would say. At least as a DPS. 3k heal, definitely not worth for party. Attack up 1 turn, 50%. Unless you're going for like the biggest nuke ever, not worth. 50 star bomb could be worth if you need gains, but even then, why would you need... it's only gains for your other characters because you're trading 50% for this as is, so yeah, not really. Just not a great skill, even after the buff. You would probably... in most fights you will probably never use this. Magic Grise is actually fine for a boss killer. Territory Creation C actually helps with the 2 decent arts cards, so it's not terrible. And yeah, then there's double class that does nothing. And then the MP, if it didn't have the ignore defense, it would suck pretty damn bad. But it is a free MP5, and this is okay as a normal effect, but the burn obviously is just terrible. So she can still do decent damage with her MP, but let's be real, that's all she has. Besides that, she's not really gonna do anything. She just has decent damage on the MP. Above average for sure, but... Compared to Rama, I might even pick MP Rama, and even Rama is not the greatest servant there is, honestly. At least he has crit potential too, and his gains are better. But a free MP5 is still not bad. Maybe a C. Maybe a C still. Like, you can still make her do damage with the MP mostly, but that's it. Yeah. I don't think... I can't place her in the same tier as Rama, though. It's one of these two, for sure. One of these two. But, okay. I think this is where I would place her if she was just not a welfare. Maybe even here. But with the free MP5, I have to put her in C, okay? Because it's still good damage for the MP. But I could... If you want to place her here, that's fair. I'm okay with that. I'll place her in C, though. Right, Suzuka. Let's go. Now, here's a servant. Suzuka, that is. Here's a servant that has gotten quite a bit better over the years. She was never terrible to begin with, but she's had her fair share of buffs, though. So attack is just slightly above average, which, again, I suppose is good, obviously. AoE Buster DPS, double Buster, double Arts deck with good numbers. Gains are honestly above average, I would say. They're not bad at all. They are fine. They're definitely alright. Also, this music is loud as hell, isn't it? Alright. Again, don't worry about that if you're watching this on YouTube. Now, I don't think I'll be rating her as a farmer. Yeah, no. She's definitely much better against bosses, and it's not like she can loop anyway, really. Maybe some crazy comp, like if you really want to brute force it, it's going to be very difficult, but I'm definitely rating her against bosses here, first and foremost. Now, skills. Her kit has seen a lot of buffs over the top. So, dude, this skill used to be just a slightly better question mark mana burst, but now it's a lot better. Okay, so it's sadly not a 3-turn buster up. It's still 3 times 3 turns, but it's already a lot better than just a 1-turn one. Now, Star Gen, not just for 1 turn, but for 3 turns, and actually her Star Gen, even outside the MP turn, is not bad with these numbers and these cards. It's actually not bad. So it's notable. And more crit synergy, which is good, because she already had some in her kit, so more crit damage. Sadly, 3 times instead of just flat out 3 turns, but yeah, on a 5-turn cooldown, this is a good skill. It's a good skill. Stop scratching my nose on camera. Well, that's what happens when I snort cocaine, man. It is what it is. It's a good skill now. Now, the second skill. This is easily the weakest part of her kit. It's, well, if you level it up, it's a 100% base chance to charm for 1 turn, but it's only against males. While male is still one of the more, common things to fight against, it's still not amazing. But at least there's an attack down as well. But it's only for 1 turn. I feel like if it's a single target attack down for 1 turn, 20% is way too low. At this point, if it's a 1 enemy, 20%, it should be 3 turns for sure. And on a 6-turn cooldown, so it's not a good skill, sadly. Then the third skill, also not bad. So you get 10% MP gauge, but it's 5 turns, so it's not bad. And it's a 6-turn cooldown, so the uptime is actually really nice. And half the time you'll have ignore evasion, which again, not always going to be relevant, but it's nice to have, I suppose. It's not as good as Invul Pierce, but, still, it's nice. And then 3-turn MP damage. So, while it's slightly awkward sometimes if you go from 0, if you don't MP immediately, you might waste some turns of this. At least it's not like 1 turn, it's 3 turns. So you're still probably going to be able to do at least 1 MP every time this is up. So, it's alright. So overall, these kits are starting to get a bit better now. Now that we're moving away from these day 1 servants. Magic Rosé is nice against bosses. Riding B, and Divinity A, more tickle is okay. Then the MP also has gotten a buff. It's actually pretty okay. On its own with the base damage with this active and this, does pretty good damage, not gonna lie. And now, as a new normal effect, you get self 20% MP gain for 3 turns. Which again, with her gains, is actually a nice addition, I would say. If you do like BAA, especially with crits, that's a lot of refund. Like, actually, that's a good amount of refund. And more crit damage for self for 3 turns, 40%. So I really wish she would have like some absorb in her kit as well. Like if they ever buff this or this, probably this most likely, if she had like more absorb to make the crits a bit more consistent, she would be even better. But even as is, if anything, I think she's underrated, you know. But obviously with the new buster supports, they can help with that a lot. So that's good. That's really good. So she has good synergy with the new supports as well. Mostly Koyan. Definitely. Koyan Light, that is. So, Suzuka. I mean, at least the same tier as Gawain, if anything. Do you guys think she's better or similar? I don't think she's worse at least. Maybe better. But not a whole lot, I would say. I would maybe say with those buffs and the good synergy with new supports like Koyan Light, she might be better. Just barely, yeah. I think she might just be better, yeah. I think, and again, I think she's a bit underrated. But there are a lot of, you know, AoE Sabers on SSR, so she gets overlooked a lot if you have those options. But still, as a 4-star, she's very, very good. Unreliable because no absorb. Yeah, but you have the supports for that as well to help. So I would say because of the lack of absorb, it's not the biggest, most like unreliable moment out there. And again, her own star gen is also pretty decent, which again helps with the not absorbing kit. So yeah. Yeah, that is a good point. With the cooldown reduction, you can have a very good uptime on some of this stuff as well from Koyan and whatnot. There you go. Great servant. First summers. How many summer servants we have? Actually, 3, is it? 4. I'm not gonna count Lanling because it's a costume, but I think we have... No, we have 5. Dude, there's so many Sabers. Anyway, this is the first one. We got Saber Fran. Single target, quick DPS. Attack just below average, I think, or so. Still not terrible. Double buster, double quick deck with some good numbers. I would say actually very good numbers. And even her compared to the MP gain, they're actually nice. So yeah, she definitely has one of the better MP gains as a 4-star Saber for sure. And in this case, it's also worth mentioning her star generation is also decent. It might be the best so far of all the Sabers we've seen. It won't be until the when we get to the end, but so far I think her star gen might be the best. Quite, yeah, definitely. Skills. Now, this is a cool skill. You'll definitely want supports for this, or starting gauge C. But yeah, if you sacrifice 10% MP gauge from self, and you get up to 80% MP gen for 3 turns on a 5-turn cooldown. Really good uptime. With this up, she's like a train. She's just a train that keeps on going. It's literally only MP gain, but it's still not a bad skill at all. It's still actually a good skill, you know? Still a good skill. Can't imagine if she was AoE. We would be definitely rating her probably as a farmer instead of a DPS here. But yeah, it's I would say this is an important part of her kit here. Good uptime, very good gains when it's up. Second skill. So it's a buff removal single target, which again is actually fine because she's a boss killer. So, and this one at least, unlike Suzuka, it's a 20% attack down, but this one is 3 turns. Like this is what Suzuka should have been as well, if anything. It makes way more sense like this with these numbers. And on a 5-turn cooldown is not the worst downtime ever. And the demerit, honestly, is not bad. It's just a, you know, a slight slap to your own face. 500 damage. It's an okay skill, I would say. It's an okay skill. Third skill, self attack up 30%, self MP damage up 30. Did I say 30? Both are 20%. Yeah, 3-turn uptime, 2-turn downtime, 5-turn cooldown, and another demerit. But again, it's pretty small. It's 1,000 damage to self over the course of 5 turns. So again, it's not really the end of the world. It's average-ish as a skill, I would say, though. I wish the numbers were 30% instead of 20. I don't see a reason why they would be 20, because these don't really help with, like, looping either. So it's kind of weird that they're 20%. But yeah, I guess it could be worse. Magic Receipt, I wish it was a bit higher. Riding EX is amazing on her. Double, triple, quicks on her normal deck, and the quick MP as well with 5 hits, so that's good. Madness Enhancement E, well, a bit more damage besides that, yeah. Yeah, true. If you really don't want this to be a problem, I guess you could just use Burn, Cleanse, CCs or some kind of stuff like that. So it's negligible as a demerit. Now the MP itself, it's an interesting one. So it's the single target chance to stun someone for 1 turn. 60%. I don't like that though. I kind of don't like that. So you can't rely on this. It's just gonna be one of those that you're gonna do when you can, and if it stuns, great, but you can't rely on this to be like a saver or anything like that. And then there's a delay, right, on the target after 1 turn. So it's after, I believe this is okay, so this is what it works like. You attack the enemy, your turn ends, right? Then the enemy goes first, and then they check for this trigger, right? It's the enemies go first, right? It's the same turn though, but everyone has to go first. And then it says a 20% chance that the other enemies get stunned as well. So that's kind of how it goes, I suppose. Again, very unreliable, but if you're lucky, you can actually get good value out of this MP. But the MP itself is, it's okay. It's okay. But at least she can use it pretty often if you're, bringing her with a good comp. Yeah, it should be notable that this 20% cannot apply to the main target. It's only this stun here. So this one works instantly, and this one would be a stun on the other enemies for the next turn, basically, right? So, there you go. Oh, is her append against Dirks? Oh, another good one. Like, who was it? Bedivere, right? Yeah, that's actually good. So, a tiny bit of points for this, for having a useful third append. That's nice. That's very nice. So, Rama, Lancelot, other single targets. I think she's definitely above Rama. Maybe here? I feel like Quick is not the best though. If she was like Arts, it would be even better, but... Ooh, I don't know. Maybe B+. Still a pretty consistent MP train you can do with her, Have people actually used her? She's super underwhelming. I guess the question should be, have you used her, Seth? I don't think she's underwhelming. If you bring her like a good support team behind her, you can absolutely get very consistent DPS out of her. And she has good utility against bosses too. She loops with 1 arts crit. Yeah, the MP is a very consistent... While the MP itself is not the best thing ever, you can use it very often, at least. Very often. Yeah, I mentioned that already, George. I think B+ is fair. Yeah. I don't think... I would still probably pick Lancelot over her. So I think this ranking makes more sense. But there you go. She's still a good option if you have her. Which a lot of people don't have anymore because Summer 2 was a long time ago. Right. Have to be unbiased here. It's one of my favorites. Again. Yagyu. Single target arts DPS Saber. Attack above average. It's a very funny looking number as well. Literally 1 above 1k. Kinda annoying, but it is what it is. With my gold, or not gold foes, but grails is actually fixed, so I don't have to look at 9s all the time. But yeah, it's fine. Double Buster, double Arts deck. I would prefer triple Arts, but it's not a bad deck by any means. Can still do an Arts chain. It is harder, obviously, with this, but it's possible. Gains are okay. I would say they are just above average. They're not amazing, but his gains are okay. Especially if you overkill Arts crit. Easy loops, but obviously a bit conditional, having said that. I think numbers-wise, he's fine. He's not game-breaking, but he's good. He's good, for sure. Skills. Now we get to see more synergy again, much like Lancelot. So, first of all, it's an Arts Mana Burst. But in addition to that, you also get very good synergy with Arts Absorb for 1 turn. And I guess even an added, well, not immune to debuff for 1 turn, but in most cases you won't get debuffed for that turn as well. which is nice because again, he's against bosses, so debuffs can be annoying sometimes. So again, good synergy. If you somehow forget the full arch chain, this is a very nutty skill to go with the MP turn. Very nutty. You're still going to use this even if you don't have the arch follow-up with the MP for sure. But yeah, potential is good. Downtime, I do have to acknowledge though. It is, the downtime is there. 1 turn effects and a 5 turn cooldown. So it's just like a better arch mana burst is what it is, but still nothing crazy. Second skill used to be very awkward. Now it's still, I guess, honestly, maybe even more awkward. But, you know, it's better for sure. Now, they added... It used to be only evade for 1 turn, attack for 1 turn. Now they added crit damage. But most importantly, they lowered the cooldown. So, if you take a look... After the buff, all of his skills now on a 5 turn cooldown. And again, remember when I said when a 1 turn evade or an invul on a 6 turn is the average? This makes it above average for a defensive skill. It is still awkward for sure, because you're not gonna use this for the attack buff or the crit damage just for damage. You definitely want to say you want this evade to be up when you need it to be up. But obviously, sometimes it can line up really well. But even though, you know, maybe if you have good protection and you have a really nutty chance to get crits, you would use this. But it's still awkward. But if anything, the main thing was the cooldown reduction. His kit now shares cooldowns, which is good. Because they have good synergy between the skills. Now, the third skill. This is a good one, honestly. Again, downtime is big though, but his highs are really high. That's for sure. 50% attack down for 1 enemy, which also will be good in synergy with his MP in a second here. That's a lot of crippling. With this, the thing with Yagyu is that you can actually evade enemy MPs in a really interesting way. You don't have to have necessarily like hard protection. You can actually go about with a combination of defense ups and attack down. Now, it's somewhat unreliable because, you know, debuff resistance is always a thing, but it is an option, which is an interesting thing to think about. You can reduce the enemy's MP damage to the point that it's either going to be super minimal that you can easily tank it, or just flat out does 0 damage if you time your shit really well. But yes, indeed, there's also bosses that tend to be immune to some debuffs. So obviously, it's still better to have like proper defensive options, but it's just an option on top of that. So it's something worth mentioning. And the MP again 50% for 1 turn again, which just makes him a bit more reliable on getting his MPs faster. But yeah, again, everything is 1 turn on a 5 turn cooldown. So downtime is there, but his highs are really high. Magic Receive, which was a bit higher. Writing B, it's a 4-hitter, so it's not as bad as it could be, but only 1 quick. Then the MP itself, it's super basic, but again, it just has good synergy in the fact that it's an attack down. This one at least is 3 turns, but if you combine it with the other one, it's 70, if you land them, 70% attack down for 1 turn. You don't need a lot in addition to that to just tank an MP, which is interesting. Very interesting. But it's definitely a very weak MP otherwise. But somewhat spammable. So now we have to start doing the comparison, because there's going to be a lot of these single target arts MPs. I think he's the same tier as Lancelot. They have different things going for them. Yagyu is a bit more utility oriented and a bit more MP spammy, but Lancelot has better crit potential. Like, they're different, but they're both good. They're both very different, despite both being 4-star single target arts ones. But I can't really put them in different tiers in my opinion. As it stands, I would definitely rate them the same. It's up to you which one you want to use. And honestly, in some bosses, one of them might be better than the other. But on average, I would place them in the same tier. So there you go. That's my rating of Yagyu and Lancelot so far. I hope I did that last year as well. I don't think their placement really has changed too much with the addition of new stuff. They're still both great DPSs for sure. Storylog, yeah, that's fair, but I'm basing them on MP1 anyway here, so that doesn't really matter too much. I'm not really gonna make that be a difference maker here for making one of them better than the other. Right, more single target arch sabers. We got Medb Saber next, the next summer unit, and ooh, right from the get-go, That attack, though, kind of a step down from Lancelot and Yagyu, isn't it? Kind of a big step down. Ouch. So what else does she have? Same deck as Yagyu, double Buster, double Arts. Same as Lancelot, right? Yeah, I'm already forgetting, but yeah. Numbers are okay. Not bad. Definitely okay. Not the attack, though. The attack is pretty bad. It's definitely very under average. Kind of sad. But at least these numbers are fine. Her star gen is okay for a Saber as well. Not bad. It's okay. First skill. Self MP per turn, 20% per turn for 3 turns. So it's around half the time is going to be active with a 6-turn cooldown. Not bad. And also 10 stars per turn. So honestly, it's an okay skill. It's definitely not bad. It's an alright skill. It's alright. Second skill. Now this is just a better skill of Suzuka skill 2, basically. Quite a bit better, in fact. Even though this one doesn't go to 100%, this is still way easier to use. You can charm anyone at all who can be charmed for 1 turn. Flat 60% chance, so like Shuten and what was it? Did Scheherazade have the same thing? And probably some others too that I'm forgetting, but yeah. But this one actually might be at least one of the better ones, because this is a nice debuff. I actually prefer this, honestly, in some cases over the defense down. It's an art rest down for 3 turns. 7-turn cooldown, though. It's quite a bit. But, at least it's AoE. If this was single target, it would be much worse. But AoE, it's still alright, I would say. So, again, she's like half DPS, half support. Which, not terrible, honestly. That can still work. So, it's a better version of a Charisma. It's like Charisma A for the attack up. And then also party crit damage. Sadly, not for herself. That's kind of a bummer. I mean, it's not like she's very crit focused anyway. But it would be nice if it was for her too. But it's just a slightly better version of like Charisma A, basically. So, It's kind of Even the crit number isn't that high. But at least it's 3 turns. Magic Frisbee is okay. Riding A. Same as Yagyu. It's okay, but, you know, Oh, I guess she has Berserker up too, so you know what, that's nice. I guess she has that going for her too, for the append. And then the MP. So on basic, it does nothing besides damage. No normal effects, so that's kind of unfortunate. But she has a very interesting OC, so you can get up to minus 50% defense down on an enemy for 3 turns. Now, was this before or after damage? I don't remember. Or was it during the hits? Maybe it was like during the hits. It's kind of hard. It's like it's an interesting case, right? Like each kit can apply it, so it's like it can get better and better, right? Yeah. It's during an it's not before necessarily or after. It's during the MP. But yeah, getting an up to minus 50% for 3 turns is actually, this is a great OC. And on average, it on 60% chance, you're gonna be landing like 3 of them, right, or so. Quick maths. I suck at maths, but that's what it is, right? Unless it gets resisted. I'm just not factoring resistance here. So even on 30%, and it's during, so it could help with the damage a bit as well. I think it's a pretty good OC actually. I wish she had like a normal effect too, though, because otherwise it's kind of lame. But yeah, if your RNG is good, she can do decent damage. I don't like the attack though. She's definitely not on the same tier as Yagyu and Lancelot in my opinion. But she's probably at least a B. Not bad. Just a bit of a noodle a lot of the times. Especially because she's limited, but yeah, still not bad, I guess. Skills are okay, mostly. MP has good potential, so yeah. You could do a lot worse than Maeve. And honestly, I think this placement makes sense. I think I would use Summer Maeve over Rama personally. So, yeah. There you go. She's not as good as Nero and Salter though. Well, Salter I rated based on farming, but if Umu was single target, I would agree. But she's AoE, so I think this is a fair placement. But you know what? You were entitled to your opinion, and that's fine. Dude, this list is way longer than I thought. But you know what? At least I'm trying to be thorough here. Diarmuid Saber. Again, honestly, I think he's somewhat underrated. People tend to kind of hate him because he's Diarmuid, I guess, but single target quick, great attack from the get-go, over 10k, that's nice. That's just great. Double buster, double quick deck, I think honestly is kind of good. I would probably prefer double arts, double quick, but it's alright. Definitely alright. And his gains are actually, I would say, good. A lot of the times they're good. So in fact, he's actually looking pretty good as a 4-star up here. And his star gen is actually very decent as well for a quick saber, right? So yeah. Like, look, 4-hit buster, 4-hit quick, 4-hit extra. Yeah. That's serious. He's actually good on numbers. For sure. Now, this skill I hate. First of all, it is good though, because it's a 5-turn cooldown for a 1-turn evasion. So much like Yagyu, it's above average for a normal basic defensive skill. But I hate the fact that it's a 1-turn quicken attack on the same thing. Granted, the numbers are pretty small, so it's not like it's the end of the world if you miss out on these for your like DPS turn. Because you're probably still much like Yagyu, in most cases you probably want to save it for the 1-turn evasion just to be safer. But yeah, much like Yagyu, definitely awkward. But still better than average for your evade skill, I would say. Second skill. Now, unlike Lancelot, he doesn't have 4 digits because, you know, this is a normal servant here. But it is still 3 turns and a 5-turn cooldown. And it's a star bomb for 15. So, yeah, he can still... I mean, he's not going to get every star there is like Lancelot necessarily. But this will help quite a bit. So, it's still pretty consistent for crits, I would say. Not Lancelot tier, but still pretty consistent. Then the third skill, honestly, again, basic but good. Self-defense up 30% on a 5-turn cooldown. That's not bad. And then MP gain 3 turns. 30%. Also not bad with his numbers already being like this. So again, basic kit, but it works. It just works. Magic Wrist A+ is actually really nice, and Riding B also very nice. And then his MP is... I'm not the biggest fan of it though. First of all, instant kill. Arguably, on a single target character, probably the worst OC you could have in the game, because it's never going to work anyway against bosses, so forget about it. So it's just he's without an OC basically. And then it would be still very good, but sadly the defense buff strip is after damage. A lot of them happen to be before damage. His is after damage. I don't like that. I don't like that. So you most likely you're still gonna use his MP after. You're just gonna wait until these disappear from the enemy. You're not gonna use his MP just to strip their buffs. Unless there's some weird gimmick that says like, oh, this enemy does 500% more damage if it has invul up. Then maybe, but yeah, it's super awkward. Sad. He would be so much better if this was before. But even then, he's good. He's definitely good. Don't get me wrong. Despite his MP being pretty lackluster, he's still very good. And I think it's pretty underrated, honestly. Is it wrong if I place him in A, honestly? I feel like he's good. He's just good. I think even he's just still very solid. His numbers are great. His kit, while being basic, is good uptime. And his MP, while, you know, kind of awkward, does decent damage for sure. I think I would place him above Summer Fran, honestly. I think. So this would be it then. Yeah. I think I might go with this, honestly. I think he needs more love, if anything, from the players, not necessarily from Lasagna. But yeah, I mean, he could use a buff, I guess. But even as is, he still works really well. Now we get a special case. It's been a while. Lanling. Art Saber, I guess, but definitely a support first and foremost. An art support, if you will. Attack, honestly, it's up below average, but you don't care about that anyway. In fact, I would honestly prefer it to be the same as D'eon, like even lower than this and more HP. I think that would be even better, but yeah, it's alright, I suppose. We're not really going to focus too much on this now, though, with him being mostly a support, though. Arts MP, support one. Double arts, double buster. Obviously would be better with triple arts, but, you know, still not terrible. At double arts is still okay. Gains are fine, much like Diarmuid. They're actually not bad at all. In fact, they're all pretty okay. Not as good for the star generation though as some of the other ones. So, not really super worth mentioning. But it's not bad though. But yeah, not as good as some of the other ones. So not too bad on the upstairs. Now, skills. Self-invul 2 hits, 3 turns on a 6-turn cooldown. Not terrible. Not one of the best ones there is in terms of these types of defensive skills. I would say it's about average. But this one also comes with a... basically, it's like a charisma that also helps him. So it's just a much better version. Well, I guess it does have a 6-turn cooldown and 5-turn on charisma. But even, I would still say this is definitely better than a charisma, Nothing game-breaking, but at least, you know what? It's always nice to have an option to protect yourself. Slightly awkward, though, because you would probably want to pop this pretty early, and if you lose these, you might be in a bit of trouble when you need it, but not terrible. Alright. One ally targeted skill. Charge them 20%, up to 20%, and up to 40% buff success rate up. 5-turn cooldown. Not bad. Somewhat basic, but not bad. Like... if you pair him with like Umu from earlier, which is a great pairing because they're both sabers anyway, and Umu is arts, great combo, honestly. Great combo, because that way she can guarantee her IP buffs, which are huge on IPEX. So yeah, it's the potential is good. Otherwise it's kind of basic and not the greatest thing ever. But at least even if you don't bring anyone that can use the buff success rate up, his third skill, he can use it himself. In a lot of cases, you will probably put it here, actually. Unless you need the battery elsewhere, or, you know, like Umu case, you need the buff success rate up as well. So, at least there's more options for this, which is good. Luckily, at least the arts AoE arts buff for 3 turns, 20%, 5-turn cooldown, good uptime. It is guaranteed no matter what. It's not RNG. If it was, he would be a lot worse than what he is. As is, it's good. Now, if you give him the buff, he has a 100% chance to give him the party 50% star gen for 3 turns, and crit damage 50%. Now, like let's say like Caster Gil, he gives 100% on 3 turns. But honestly, I prefer 50 and 50 here. This is, in my opinion, quite a bit better than 100% star gen. Like, also have 50% crit damage. For sure. So his skills, somewhat basic, but they work for what he's doing, you know? Still definitely work. Magic Receipt, I wish it was a bit higher, but, you know, at least he has it. Writing A, meh. And then the MP. It's not a bad MP at all, actually. Drain is always good, especially on AoE against bosses. You know, the less they MP, the more you will stay alive, most likely. Also, crit chance down on enemies, 20% 3 turns. Crit chance down, well, maybe, I keep saying it's underrated. I hope it's not anymore, because I keep preaching about it. Yeah, it's a very great debuff against bosses. Because crits are, you know, a lot of the times, you don't even die against the MPs of the bosses. You might just die to their crits. So if they can't crit, or if they miss their crits rather, that's good. Now on an MP1, the effect is not that good, because it's only a 500 damage cut for 3 turns, so it's not, especially against MPs, is useless. And against face cards, it's it gets better later, especially with MP2, but yeah, right now it's not that great. And then another party buff, even better than the first skill, 30% attack up 3 turns, which again, not bad. It's a pretty okay MP, I would say. No, it's good. He's just a pretty damn solid support. You could maybe make the Caster Gil comparison, but honestly, I might say he's better. Unless you need the more DPS, he's probably even better. He's definitely one of the A's. Now I have a hard time deciding which A, though. This is the hard part, if anything. He could honestly be A+. It seems like most of you guys would want to see A+ as well. Yeah, he's good synergy, does the job well, consistent. Why not? Yeah. I guess, yeah, some people said he has some solo potential, but, you know, we'll definitely see better options later as well. But yeah, you know, there you go. I'm definitely rating him first and foremost as a support here, though. Right, Lakshmibai. AoE quick Saber DPS. 9.9k attack is nice. That's definitely above average for a 4-star. Double quick, double buster deck. Now, I don't know what to really do with her here. You can actually make her 3-turn. It's not pretty though. It's a lot of work. So I think I'm honestly probably gonna place her first and foremost as like a DPS against bosses. She's kind of tragic when it comes to looping. It is doable. I've seen it. I've definitely seen it, but it's very heavy on the requirements. And because you have so many options these days, I feel like unless you have her like railed or something, you probably not would use her for farming. So I'm going to be rating her as like a half support, half DPS for like a boss thing here. An interesting thing, I suppose. The deck itself is fine. Nothing wrong with that. You can also do a quick chain with the MP. Double arts I would prefer over double buster probably here, but something. Actually pretty good, decent gains. Stargen also, not bad at all. It's actually pretty good, considering her MP is also AoE. The skills. She has a pretty damn solid charisma, if you get the RNG. But luckily, much like Lanling, she can patch this up herself too. And if you bring Lanling as well, which you probably won't, because, you know, he's mostly an art support and she's quick. But yeah, at least she has a way to help this RNG herself. So if you do land all of this, it's basically the same as Lanling. Instead of arts, you get attacks, so it's a bit more generic. But it's a pretty okay skill, I would say. And it's even maybe above okay, because again, she can patch this RNG herself. She doesn't even need help with that, so not bad. Targeted ally invul 1 turn, 6-turn cooldown. So it's a standard, but it's slightly better because at least this one has the target ability, so it's a bit more flexible. Also RNG, but again, she can patch this up, so you can give them 2k, up to 2k HP per turn for 3 turns, and damage cut up to 2k, but sadly this one is 3 turns, but it's still 3 hits, so 2k damage cut actually starting to be somewhat significant against normal attacks. Definitely won't help you against an MP still, let's not go there, but against normal attacks, 2k is actually quite a bit. In some scenarios, you get 0 damage, in fact. Maybe not against crits, especially from bosses, but yeah, it can be quite significant. And then this skill kind of vital if you want to make the most out of these skills if you don't bring anyone else to help with the RNG. Self-guts, 1 time 3 turns. So, you know, if you don't want to give her the invul, at least she has another option to kind of, you know, keep herself standing a bit longer. There is a demerit of debuffers down for self, 20% 3 turns. It's a small one. It's not really a big demerit, kind of negligible. And then, unlike Lanling, entire party gets the debuff success rate up for 3 turns. But sadly, because it is on the gut skill, the cooldown is a bit gimped. So you can't have this up every time you have these skills. Chances are, maybe this one, because this is, you're obviously not going to use this immediately, but with this one, you're probably not going to have it always up. But it's still, I would say, a pretty good kit overall. Decent synergy as well. Mostly supportive, but you know, she can do some deeps herself. Again, the speed, I'm gonna rate her like a half DPS, half support. I'm not gonna rate her fully as a support here because her MP is kind of more damaging side, so. But yeah, her supporting is not bad, I suppose. Magic Crusade is nice. Riding B is actually definitely very nice. If anything, this is nice for the debuff res, so innate 40% debuff res is actually very, very notable. That is no joke. And more tickling from that. Berserker damage bonus is cool. And yeah, even the MP is actually mostly defensive, if anything. Like, sure, honestly, I kind of wish this was full-on support MP. Honestly, I really would. Because the other effects are supportive. So it's a damaging AoE MP, which has an AoE crit chance down for 3 turns, 20%. So it's the same as Lanling, but this one scales with the OC instead of being a normal effect. And also removes offensive debuffs. So this one doesn't matter. It is after damage, right? But this one doesn't matter like Diarmuid does, because, you know, it's not going to really matter for your damage anyway. So if anything, she is more of a support than what she is a DPS. If she was fully support on the MP, she could probably be on the same tier as Lanling. And depending on what the FX would be, it may be even better. But I feel like as is, it's a B plus or an A, I think. Maybe a B plus. I'm not sure if I can put her just a plus below Lanling. You guys seem to like A, huh? Yeah. At least she's still like, you can kind of use her with anything. Because, you know, generic stuff. She's not like, oh, buff the quick of the team. So, yeah, maybe. She's a bit more flexible, maybe. I still like Lanling stuff more for what he's used for. And Arch is not even really a niche, so I can totally count him as an Arch support fully on the placement here. But you know what? Her being a bit more flexible, maybe, then... Yeah, sure. Okay, I can see that. Yeah. Still not bad. I really wish she had a supporting MP, though. Back to a welfare and a summer unit. Hokusai Saber. Single target arts DPS. Free MP5 at that. Attack, maybe just under average, but still not Mave levels. Deck, double arts, double quick. Triple arts would have been better, but it's okay. At least, this is still better than double buster, double arts. For sure. Even if she has some crit potential, I still like the gains more. In fact, her gains are actually not bad at all. They're actually definitely above average. She has good refund potential. I like the numbers on the cards too. Even the star gen is not terrible. Skills. Self-battery up to 20% and a 20 star bomb. 5-turn cooldown. A bit of downtime, but for a welfare, definitely a good skill. This entire skill is already better than any skill that Braveless has. Second skill, absorb 3 turns. I hate the fact that it's tied to the guts though, because that means her crit consistency suffers because the cooldown is higher because it's a gut skill. I would prefer if this was a 5-turn cooldown on the absorb, so her crits are not as consistent, let's say, oh, Lancelot from earlier, or, you know, Diarmuid. Awkward. But at least it's still better than it's a guts, I suppose, than like an evade. Because you can pop guts a bit earlier and still be a bit more flexible. And instead of like wasting like a 1-turn evade. But still kind of awkward. Then the third skill, which is really cool and actually a great skill. 3-turn arts up, 30%. So half the time it's going to be up. That alone is already pretty okay. And then every time you normal attack, right? Crit damage. But you have to get crits. But I guess, you know, yeah, if you're gonna get crits, more crits. Or more crit damage, rather, you know. If anything, it's mostly for the arts thing, but I guess you can make your crits a bit meatier. If anything, it makes it so that this is even more sad now because of the cooldown. Most of the time you won't have this up. But yeah, a bit of an amplifying effect for your crits. Not as crazy as, like, let's say Melt, but, you know, it's I'm not even going to compare them anyway, but she has a similar effect, which is a lot better. But, yeah, it's just a nice bonus on top of the arts buff, I suppose. Magic Resi could be a bit higher, but at least it exists. Divinity Plus is a tickle. That doesn't make any difference in the MP. Sadly, no other normal effects, but a free MP5 is nice. And MP damage, 1 turn B4 damage, starting at 30%, so that's already not a bad number. A lot of these are like 10 or 20, but this is 30, so it's definitely on the higher side for this sort of OC. So overall, basic but good numbers, and synergy is also definitely there. So she's at least an A, but the question is, here, which of the A's is she? That is the question. I cannot put her in EX, definitely not EX, but what kind of an A are we looking at here? No less than an A for sure, though. The thing is, the free MP5 is very nice, but I kind of like Lancelot's skills a bit more. This is a hard one, honestly. I might place her here too, honestly. I don't think her skills are as good as like Diarmuid Yagyu or Lancelot, but free MP5 is still very juicy. I think I'll place her here, despite I think most of you guys even saying A+, because her skills are still, in my opinion, quite a bit weaker than some of these other single target quick sabers. They have definitely better skills. So you know what? She's still great, but I can't really justify putting her higher than like Lancelot, Yagyu, Diarmuid here. So yeah, there's a lot of options if you have these sabers. Most of them are kind of interchangeable, if anything. She loops. If you don't think Yagyu and Yagyu and Lancelot can't loop as well, I don't know what to tell you. You probably never played them either, because they can definitely loop quite easy as well. But yeah, if you want to place her in A+, that's fine. I think I'll just place her in A for now. Thanks for the 11 months, Ninja. Welcome back to the Go Game. Now, this is probably a heated topic. Another Summer servant. Summer Tomoe, AoE Art Saber. First of all, I want to say that I think she gets more hate than what she deserves. Some people say she's like very bad. In fact, she's not. She's not. She's actually still pretty solid. The attack is just above average, which is nice. Double arts, double buster deck. So if you get lucky, you can get like a really nice arch chain going. Now, I think, honestly, in this case... Oh, this song, let me actually... Okay. In this case, I will give her placement... The weight on the placement is both on farming and as a DPS, honestly. She can do both decently, for sure. So, she has like 2 roles she's very possible in. Now, yeah, then I like the deck itself. It's actually good. Obviously, triple R's again would be better, but it's nice. Stargen, not that good though. But she has good crit potential at least. So, then the skills. Self-guts 1 time 3 turns. Pretty weak as a guts, but at least it's not like a 7-turn cooldown. It's a 6, so it's okay. Crit damage self, 3 turns, 100%. So, if you've ever seen her crits, you know she can do kind of stupid crit damage. There is quite a hefty demerit here. After 3 turns, you do stun yourself for 1 turn. But stuff like this is easy to combat. You can't really remove this preemptively because it's treated as a buff. But, you know, there are ways to cleanse as well and whatnot. But it's still, I'm not gonna lie, it can be a hefty demerit though still. Let's be real. It's like a very all-in skill. Self-arts up, sadly 1 turn, 30%. I guess that's why the cooldown is lower, but obviously most people would prefer like a higher cooldown and 3 turn, because, you know, it would help with her farming as well. And it's even just 30% on 1 turn, which is kind of a scam in my opinion. Should be 50%. Yeah, her 3rd skill also can combat the first one. I was about to get to that as well, but and much like Yagyu, she also has the arts absorb for 1 turn, which makes sense because it's, you know, kind of a mesh of that skill. So yeah, if you do get that nice chain like Yagyu, easy loop, easy big damage. Then the 3rd skill, big star bomb at 25, definitely above average for star bombs. Also stars per turn, 10 a turn, which is alright. And then debuff immune 1 time, importantly 5 turns. So unless your enemy cucks you, which they can honestly if you're fighting bosses, if this needs to make a difference. In farming this will not need to make a difference, but against bosses it will need, because it will actually counter this. But obviously if you get debuffed, it removes this immediately, so you probably still want to bring some kind of other ways to deal with the stun, but this is one way to do it. So, you know, at least there's some way to combat it. Magic Rosé, good against bosses. Riding B, negligible, but could be worse. Then the MP, not terrible. Most notably, it's okay because of the arts and buster up 20% for 1 turn before damage. The burn and the burn amp itself doesn't matter. Even though it's better than just a flat out burn, it will not make a difference. It will just not make a difference in any way. Now, she can definitely loop without a plug suit. No question about it. She can't use a black rail when that's set up. And at MP1, her damage is not the greatest. So she's kind of similar to Yasun in that sense. Because Yasun mainly suffers from 1-star stats. She kind of suffers from, you know, her MP just not being the most damaging thing ever. But she's different. I think she still gets more hate than she deserves. Like, Pin saying max B is just wrong. how is she max B? She's like a B plus at least. For sure. I think, honestly, her being in the same tier as Yasun makes sense. Like, they're kind of interchangeable. Yasun loops a bit easier, and both of their damage are not amazing, but I feel like Tomoe's damage is still good, like better to the sense that, and the looping is not, it's not a big difference in the amount, that they're pretty much the same. If you have both options, you can go with either one. They're not the greatest ever, but it's very doable. Very doable. You don't need a plug suit, which is great. And also Tomoe maybe added a bit of an added benefit that, unlike Yasun, she can be used against bosses too. You don't want to bring Yasun against bosses unless, you know, you love him or something. He's just not great against bosses. He's only there for like farming. So there you go. I think she gets more hate than what she deserves. She can absolutely work. Is she the best option ever? No. She can't use MLB Black Grill? No, not really. No, sadly not an option. But, you know, still not bad. Now, this is an interesting one. We're getting near the end of 4 stars, huh? Yeah, not that many to go. Oh, not you yet. Saitou, here we go. This is a fan favorite, isn't it? Yeah, he's very popular, especially in JP as well, like Japanese players. Single target Art Saber again. 9.4k attack, so maybe slightly above average. Not as good as like some of the other ones, but not far behind. Still pretty good. Deck double arts, double buster, so it's the same as Yagyu, for instance. Pretty much, like the decks are, like their gains and their decks and their numbers are very, very close to each other, which again is not bad. It's definitely above average for the stuff. His attack is just a bit lower, but not that big of a deal, I suppose. So overall, up here, he's alright. His star gen is also not bad. Actually did some testing. Let me see. Let me look at my notes. So with like a BBQ chain, he can actually get, without any buffs, he can get like close to 20 stars, which, you know, not bad. Not bad. And that was without overkill, by the way. So, skills. Self-arts up, buster up 3 turns, 5 turn cooldown, 20% each, and a small star bomb of 20. Basic, but it works. It just works. Good uptime, I like that. That's what he has over Yagyu, I suppose, at least. While his high might be not as high as Yagyu, he has more uptime than he does. So again, it's you know, again, we might be coming down to preference here. I have to mind Chu. Honestly, maybe in his case, I have to mind Fake would be better, because he does have some crit potential. So maybe crit damage would be better than defense up. But it's still a very, you know, it's an okay basic defense option. So not great, not bad. It's alright. It'll always be okay, basically. This one is still not too outdated like some of the other, you know, day 1 skills. So yeah, speaking of crits, here it is. 5 turn cooldown. Self-attack up, 3 attacks, 3 turns, 30%. I wish this was maybe 40%, because it's 3 attacks only. So it gets consumed very fast. And then 3 crits, 3 turns, 100%. So yeah, for those 3 crits, he's probably gonna do really nasty damage. Really nasty damage. I wish this attack was slightly higher though, because it's only 3 attacks. It's so easy to consume 3 attacks. And you would prefer these to be consumed on a crit anyway. Which might not always happen, because he doesn't have Absorb, for instance. At least he has a Star Bomb to help with a little, and you know, you can... But him being arts, you know, it's hard to get stars, obviously, with art supports and whatnot, but... Still not bad. Magic Resist D is sadly very low. Could use a higher one. Independent Action C actually makes somewhat sense, because, you know, he does have some crit potential, as we discussed. And then the MP is actually one of the better ones of all these single target, say, 4-star sabers. So, before damage, 3 turn arts resistance down, starting at 20% on the OC. Actually good. This will make it so that... Okay, let me look at my notes again, because I did some labbing again. Let's see, how much was the refund? So, with an MPAA chain, with just the first skill active and crits, he gets 97% returns. Add like 1 buff to that from a support, and he can easily loop. So, again, his loop potential is very nice. And then as an added bonus, a great normal effect of crit chance down 20% 3 turns, always great against bosses. So again, this is a good MP. This is a good MP. What could I say? It's good. Might be the best MP of all these types of sabers we've seen. Now, again, can I place him above, or is he also interchangeable? It really is a hard call here. I don't know. I've used him quite a bit on JP as well. I really don't know. He might... I don't think he's high enough to be considered above. I think most of these... There might be very small differences between them, but I don't know. If he was a bit more consistent at, like, crits, for instance... Maybe. If he had, like, Lancelot crit consistency, he would probably be here. Yeah. I know a lot of you guys would like to maybe see him in A+, and that's completely fair. But he's just more of the same in most cases, in my opinion. Still great. Will work. But... Wow, you must have heard that. Grand Zerk is going fucking nuts, but yeah. Maybe he's outraged by the placement, but okay. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the 3 times buffs as well either. At least the first skill is 3 turns, but the third skill is not the best thing there is. There you go. Alright, more single target sabers. Now we get Mr. K-pop. Watanabe. Here we go. So, not arts this time. Single target buster, baby. Now, there will be a comparison to Rama, for sure. Because they're very similar. So, deck, double buster, double arts. Not too bad. Actually, deck makes sense considering what his skills are. So, double buster, double arts is probably the best deck he could have asked for with the skills he has. His gains, I think I did some labbing as well. Let me check. They're not that good. They're not as good as some of the arts ones, which I guess makes sense because, you know, you would not expect Buster servants to be as good as the arts ones, but they're not terrible by any means. Just could be better, I suppose. So it's an okay star gen potential as well on him. Now the skills. These are very interesting skills. So self Buster absorb up 3 turns and crit damage. Same as Saitou. It is 3 times 3 turns, but unlike Saitou, he only has 50%. So it's not as good as Saitou's third skill in my opinion, but it's not bad. It's okay. Then again we go with this theme again. So he also has a 1 turn evasion on a 6 turn cooldown. So again, the average or so. Absorb for arts cards this turn for 1 turn, and this one comes with MP generation, so it makes sense. You get the crit damage with the buster and you get the MP gain with the arts. So with this active, his gains actually do become pretty decent, right? Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, the attack is actually very high. It's over 10k. Yeah, that's good. That's really good. That is good. And then the third skill, which is easily his best skill, 3 turn 40% buster up on a 5 turn cooldown. Even that alone would be pretty damn nice. But you also get the ignore evasion for 3 turns as a bonus, and again, because he's a boss, 1 AoE crit chance down 3 turns, 20%. This is definitely a nice skill. This is a nice skill. Pretty good synergy all across the board as well, despite being like double card type, if you want to call it that. Magic Crusade is nice, and Riding B again. Berserker bonus is definitely very nice, especially considering what his niche is gonna be. So here we go, the MP. There's an added normal effect. Bonus damage against Oni. Now, let's take a look at Oni. It's not as empty as I originally thought it was gonna be. So there are some options, but mostly he's like the bane of Ibaraki. It's quite funny that Lancer Ibaraki is also, like, her summer version is a Lancer, so she will get destroyed by Watanabe, no matter which version she is. And I guess, you know, he hates Dino Mommy as well. Otherwise, it probably won't really make a difference too much. Obviously, normal enemies can have this trait as well, but he's not a farmer, so I'm not really going to consider normal enemies here. And his demonic is clearly weaker to Rama, because it's only 20%. Like, this is not even... It's different from this modifier anyway, even if the number was the same. But yeah, the MP sometimes will be pretty damn unimpressive. but when it works really well. But at least his kit is still good. Even if you're not fighting demonic or even better Oni, yeah, it's he's not bad at all actually. He's still straight up just an upgrade to Rama. So it's at least a B plus, maybe an A, honestly, maybe an A. He might just be A. He's actually quite a bit better than Rama across the board. His third skill I really like actually. He might be, if he's A, he might be on the lower side compared to some of the other ones, but still good. He's just better than Rama in basically every way, except anti-demonic is a bit weaker on him. There you go. Dude, 4-star Sabers. Eating good, man. What can I say? And here we go. There's 2 more. Dude, speaking of underrated, man, dude, I did not know Santa Karna was as good as he was until I labbed him a bit. So, single target quick Saber. 9.1k attack, slightly on the lower side, sadly, but not bad. Double quick, double buster deck actually is good for his kit. Maybe even better than triple quick. Debatable, but still good. His gains are good. Like, they're actually good. Like, one thing I will compare him to, which is not a fair comparison, but to give you an idea, he's like a Saber version of Kentucky Rider. I still think Kentucky does his job better than what he does, but he's still very similar in a lot of ways, okay? His gains are not as good, but they're good, and his star gen is really good. Like, to give you an idea, like when I labbed him, his MPQQ with a low rank quick skill, 1 crit was oh, actually no crits, 46 stars. That's assassin levels. MPQQ no crits level 4 quick up, 46 stars. Did I lab that? Let's see, do I have the other numbers as well? Yeah, BQQ normal chain, 28 stars, no skill active, no buffs at all. Again, his star gen is actually kind of nuts for a Saber, so don't discount that. And his normal MP gen is also really good. Now the skills. So this is the skill I was talking about. So sadly, it's another one of those 3-time ones for the quick and buster, 30%. I wish it was 40 if it's 3 times, but so be it. And crit damage at least is 3 turns. And this is good. This is really good that it's 3 turns, because again, he has so good star gen anyway, so he's going to be critting more often than not, if anything. So having an extra 50% crit damage is actually really nice. Also, a 5-turn cooldown makes this skill is a very great skill for a welfare servant, needless to say. This one, the second skill, is his main defensive option as well, right? Evasion for 2 attacks, 3 turns. I wish it was like 5 turns, but you know what? Still not bad. 6-turn cooldown, a bit hefty. But yeah. Crit absorb, sadly, 1 turn. And then, if you really want to go crazy with like Scotty memes as well on top, you can make his quicks absolutely... quick crits absolutely melt someone. It's kind of ridiculous what the potential is. You can have an absolute killer of a turn if everything lines up properly. It's hard to do that, but, you know, crazy potential. And then the third skill, a bit of utility, targetable skill for 1 ally, 20% battery, and debuff immune 3 times, 3 turns. That is actually a great effect, considering he's not a farmer. This is against bosses, so that's actually not bad of an utility to have. Gonna protect someone real nice. 5-turn cooldown ain't too shabby, I suppose. Magic Resist A is great, Divinity A is cool, and Heart Puncher EX, Buster crit damage. He does like his boxing, I guess, so... And then the MP is an interesting one, I suppose. But much like Kentucky Rider, also gets quick up for 1 turn before damage, starting at 20%. And interestingly enough, as a bonus normal effect, it removes guts before damage, which maybe works sometimes, but not that big of a deal. Also hits really hard as a free MP5. Like, dude, I think I did not realize how good he was until I labbed him a bit. Like, he's got great numbers and whatnot. It's like it's kind of nuts. Is it wrong of me to place him above these guys? I feel like he could. Like, honestly, if you should, everyone should try him out if you haven't. He's actually really good. Like, just try him. He feels amazing. He just feels like a slapper. A part of me kind of feels dirty because, don't get me wrong, all of these single target guys are great, but like, just try him out. I promise you won't be disappointed, especially if you bring nice supports with him. The only reason I'm probably not placing him in EX, because Quick tends to be the weakest of the card types. If he was like a full-on monkey mode or maybe Arse Looper, he might even be better, but don't get me wrong, he's amazing. He's just really good. Just very good. I should mention at this point, I mentioned it yesterday as well, I made a big mistake. Apparently, my Santa Karna on JP is only MP1. I burned my extra 4 copies somehow. So that sucks, and he seemingly doesn't get a rerun. Hopefully, Mega Christmas rerun this year. I'm an idiot. So, but you know what? If anything, when I was labbing him, I was still kind of okay with his MP damage. And that was MP1. Imagine if that was MP5. It would be so much better. So even at MP1, I was already, okay, you know what? He's actually pretty good. And then I realized later that, oh shit, he's MP1. All right, last 4-star, and boy, what a 4-star it is, I guess. Barghest. Big. Well, AoE Buster Extraordinaire. Now, the attack, sadly, very much on the lower side, which might not be the worst thing ever, because the higher HP doesn't actually hurt, because I do have to consider something here. She's a pretty great soloer if you have a maxed one, especially even better if grailed and whatnot. Like, she has pretty damn good solo potential. And even with this lower attack, the amount of buffs she has, it's like Gawain, right? The OG. Like, they can, with their buffs, they can kind of make up for, you know, with Gawain, the attack isn't a problem, but with his MP is the problem. But yeah, the buffs can kind of make up for a lot of the missing stuff. So I don't know what to rate her, Barghest here. Soloer, DPS. I'm not. You can actually do plug suit 3-turn farm with her, barely, but you need double Oberon Vich. That's the only way you can do it. But yeah, I'm not really gonna consider that here. I'm probably gonna, yeah, she's definitely more against bosses and for solo. Yeah, I agree, Jord. I'm gonna rate her probably based on both, if anything. Not as a farmer. That would be doing her kind of dirty. Even if her damage is actually good if you do that particular plug suit setup. Anyway, full gorilla deck, much like ya boy Gawain. Gains, not as bad as Gawain, but still not good. Like, even on solo, it's not the easiest thing to do to get her MP back super fast, even with crits. So the gains are still pretty bad overall. Maybe slightly higher than normal Gawain. But you know what? Monkey mode tends to be the way to go here anyway. Star Gen, again, not really good. It's Right, then the skills. So much like Gawain, she has the same skill. Sadly, not as high of a rank, but you know, attack up for 3 turns flat, and then sunlight you get more. She doesn't have a way to guarantee sunlight though, right? Yeah. So that's a bit unfortunate compared to OG Gawain, but you know what? It's not the biggest loss, but yeah, maybe at some point she will, and yeah, even better. Now this is an interesting skill. This is such a cool skill. So yeah, you might not always get this buster up for 3 turns here, but you can get a better one, 30%, 3 turns on a 6-turn cooldown. Now you might say 6-turn cooldown, it's a bit pricey. It is, but we'll get to that later. So you also get a nice buff for 3 turns, so that every one of your normal attacks heals you for 1k flat. This includes extra. It doesn't include the MP, but a lot of people don't remember that or know that extra attack also counts as a normal attack. So a normal Brave Chain with this active just flat out heals you for 4k. Not bad. That's actually quite a bit of regen. And then also, there's really good potential here. You remove 1 buff on every normal attack from an enemy, and every buff you remove reduces their defense by 10% for 3 turns. So in some scenarios, this snowballs like crazy. Just snowballs like crazy. But I do have to emphasize as well that a lot of bosses have unremovable buffs, but still, potential is really nice. And with like Tammy, CC, this can get like really crazy good as well. Then the third skill is also unique. So party gets damage cut for 3 attacks, 3 turns, up to 1k. Not too shabby. Will definitely make an impact against face cards, not against MPs, but against face cards. And also, party gets 15% MP gain every turn for 3 turns. 7 turn cooldown, but again, it's not as bad as it seems because of the MP. But yeah, this is like the one thing that kind of makes her better in a team environment. She definitely shines easily the best in a solo environment, but this at least gives her more of a reason to exist in a party. And she's still good in party as well, don't get me wrong, but she really shines the best alone. Magic Receipt could be a bit higher. Madness Enhancement A+ is truly good here. Helps a lot with her full gorilla deck, especially on solo. And then the MP is really, like OG Gawain has a pretty lackluster MP. Now this is what a great MP looks like. First of all, another buster buff. That's 3 before damage, 20% for 1 turn. Also increases own max HP for 3k for 5 turns. So that's just a heal you can get at full HP as well. And then the important bit, which makes the solo even crazier. Every MP you do just flat out reduces all of your cooldowns by 1. So that means like, yeah, now the 6 turn cooldown and the 7 turn here don't seem like the end of the world anymore. Because you can kind of MP like every other turn. I don't think there's ever going to be a turn where you MP every turn, unless the enemy has like 5 hits they're attacking you with where you can get gains from them. But you can still get pretty consistent MPs, I suppose. But yeah, you absolutely want to max her skills and whatnot if you're going to solo with her. The cooldowns are still detrimental, for sure. So she's a very cool and interesting case. You can definitely tell they're getting way more creative with these newer servants. And you'll see with that with some of the 5 stars as well here. But yeah, I don't know what to do with her. I can't place her in EX or anything like that. But she's at least an A. It's one of the A's. But even the solo, it's not the best solo in the game or anything. And her team play is not as good as it could be. Because her cooldowns will be a bit worse on team environments because you can't get her MPs off as often as you can as solo. And the solo is not like it's the, you know, super crazy. It's really good, don't get me wrong. I've seen some videos. Like, she can do some really good stuff, but I think I'll leave her in A, honestly. But again, if someone wants to put an A+, I would be okay with that. But I think I'll leave her in A for now. You should look at her Bonsi. What is it? Let me check, actually. I still have the page open. So is the Bonsi good? MP damage, 30%. I feel like you still use another CE on solo, right? Yeah, 30% chance of 500, 3 turns max HP. Yeah, I don't feel like this is good. Yeah, it's cute though, but I feel like you're gonna do better with a, you know, a proper CE. There you go. She's still great. Very great. Now, here we go. The last... What is this? I don't know. I can't count. Okay, we're starting with an interesting one. Back to day 1. Saber. Now, she has gone through so much over the course of, like, all these years. Not just for her own, but for other units that help her as well. So, AoE, Buster, DPS. And when I say DPS, you can use her against bosses... But where she shines the most is definitely farm. Her kit works in a really interesting way that enables her to buster farm with ease. Okay? So I will definitely do this placement based on farming. Now, let me get my numbers for SSRs here. So the attack for SSR is below average, but it's not terrible. Obviously, you prefer it to be higher because she's a farmer and a DPS. She doesn't really need this HP for stuff like that. Double Buster, double Arch deck. In farming, it's not going to be the most relevant thing, and the numbers are kind of bad, but at least her gains are still okay if you are actually going to use her with face cards with like bosses, so it's not as bad as it could be. Star Gen, forget about it though, it's terrible. Charisma B, again, we're back to this, yeah, still terrible. Needs it too outdated at this day and age, but you know what? A bit of added damage for your farm, I suppose. She used to have just a flat mana burst, which again, same as Charisma, pretty outdated at this point, but now, yeah, this is mostly good for the against bosses, but it does help with the farm as well because of the MP damage. They're sadly only one turn, but most of the time you only need them for that one turn anyway. But this is I love this effect. This is so cool and unique. Changes all command cards to Buster. So she's a very, you know, if you have this, it's very consistent Unga Bunga chain whenever you need it, right? So she actually does have pretty good damage potential with that too, if those face cards come into play, right? So it's a very cool skill now, in my opinion. And then this is really important. If this wasn't here, she would not be doing what she does. 30% battery, 5-turn cooldown. Those numbers are very important. 30% and a 5-turn cooldown. What that means is that you can use this turn 2 and get it back on turn 3 with double Vich lights. And because it's 30%, her MP refunds 20%, that means 50% refund. Oh baby, that is a very unique and such a cool exact scenario, right? That really makes her such an easy farmer, right? So yeah, it's really cool. Starbomb maybe sometimes will be relevant as well, especially against bosses, and if you somehow need face cards, you know, it's gonna make your crits a bit more consistent, I suppose. Even better, she's one of the only Buster farm but doesn't need Atlas to loop. Exactly. She's like, of all Buster loopers, she's definitely just like up there. Magic Grisey, good if your boss is useless on farm. Riding, again, kind of useless with 1-2 hitter quick. And then the MP itself, sadly, suffers from a, you know, old syndrome, as, you know, they only buff the damage. But at least this was still 20% all along, so that's exactly enough. Exactly enough on regular 100% OC, so there you go. She's such an interesting... Like, the kid is still basic, but the numbers make it so that she can do so many things. Right? Right? Yeah, right? I mean, come on. Yeah. It's so effortless. And the damage is also good. And you can make it even better if you need to with Plug Suit or whatever. Like, you can fix her problems easily, even if you have any. Like, this is a cool moment. If anything, this is meant to be. She's waited for this for so long, right? She's waited for this since just the day the game came out, so there you go. I can maybe see an argument, some people say A+, but I will definitely place her in EX, okay? So there you go. She made it. With a little help, but she made it, okay? Alright, final line here. Oh, then we go to Altera next. Oh, man. Well, at least her attack is nice compared to Saber, so there's that. AoE Buster, again. Same deck. Pretty much the same numbers, so, you know, not much for me to add here. But honestly, I'm definitely not placing Altera based on farming here. This will be a boss rating, unlike Artoria, who can kind of maybe do both. Yeah, this will not be a farm rating, because, you know, sadly Altera doesn't really do that still. Maybe someday. Maybe this list will look different in a year again. But yeah, numbers, just okay for an SSR. Nothing crazy, just eh. Now, she used to have a shitty tactics, now has a much better tactics. So again, whenever they buff these tactics, they always seem to go 3 turns as well, and 20%, so she does the same. But this is a great addition. Honestly, this is probably the best tactics in the game now. Or something that was from tactics. AoE defense buff strip from enemy. That's not bad at all. Considering, again, I'm rating her as a boss killer here. That can be juicy. Thinking, sometimes, like, if an enemy uses an invul, you might have a dead turn besides gains. So this could make a difference there. Not bad. And because it's an offensive skill, it's pretty easy to use this whenever you want. It's not like it's tied to like a dodge or something, like with Ivan sadly is on his this buff strip is on his invul. This is a bit more easier to use. Although this is not all buffs, but it's still the most meaningful buffs most of the time, the defensive ones. And a 5 turns cooldown is not that bad. So now it's actually a pretty good skill. Second skill also used to be really bad. Now, still not amazing, but at least now, I guess she has some kind of crit potential. But even then, it's a 300 absorb, and it's 1 turn. Why is it not like 600? Why is it not 3 turns? Why is it 1 turn 300%? It's not really gonna make the biggest difference ever. The heal is okay. The debuff res is, I guess, more than okay. But it's only against offensive debuffs. It's still weak, I think, kinda. It's still pretty weak. Man, these early... I think this was like a year 2 buff or something. So they were still kinda afraid of, you know, doing stuff. This was definitely a much better. This was much later, so you can tell. And then the third skill is actually not bad. It's just a pretty okay DPS buff. So a 30% self-attack of 3 turns, 5 turn cooldown with an okay star bomb. This has always been okay. It still is okay. It's not game breaking. It's just okay. So at least this is good. But yeah, no battery, no nothing. So farming is still... yikes. Magic Res B is okay against bosses. Riding A is... no. Divinity B, nah. MP. At least with her, they did more than just increase the damage, but they added 10% to the defense down, which again, after damage. How basic is this MP, dude? Like, there's so many good MPs nowadays. This looks so pale in comparison. It's just... and it probably will never get buffed again. Yikes. Not a whole lot of improvements. Like, Artoria has seen a lot of growth. But her... C+? C+? You can make some use out of her on bosses and whatnot. I could maybe, even on a rainy day, I could maybe see an argument for B based on the tactics buff utility. But I'm not really feeling it right now, honestly. I'm not really feeling it. So I think I'm just going to place her in C+. Yeah. Needs way more love, for sure. Better than Liz. Well, I'm not really comparing. Well, I guess I am comparing her to boss skill, but one is a 5-star and one is a 4-star. But yeah, I would still bring her probably over Liz, even as an AoE. So, yeah. But it's kind of unfair to compare them anyway, yeah. Yeah. Now, time to be unbiased again. Okita, the OG, a year 1 servant, actually. One of the earliest limited SSRs in the game. Single target quick, attack above average. Not a whole lot, but definitely above, which is nice. Breaks the 12k barrier. Double buster, double quick deck. Would be better on triple quick for sure, but still the deck is definitely good and her numbers are nuts. She's like the Gilgamesh again. Kit is insanely basic, but the numbers are nuts. If anyone's ever used Okita, you know how crazy her refund is, for instance. It's just ridiculous. She can easily go from an like MP turn to like you use an MP and then Brave Chain after. You can go to 100%. You can absolutely do that. And the Star Gen is also really good, needless to say, when you hit those quicks. Not as good as Karna Santa, honestly. Karna Santa Star Gen is better, but she's still pretty okay. Definitely pretty good. Now, the skills used to be like more basic than basic. Still not, you know, still kind of basic, but you know. This is an awkward skill now, kinda. It's still her quick mana burst. But then on every normal attack, before the normal attack lands, you get a 20% attack out for 1 turn. But it's a normal attack, so it doesn't work with the MP doesn't do it. So I guess if you want max damage, you would have to do like Buster, Opener, MP, and then Quick Card. That would be like max damage. But it's certainly an awkward chain when you think about it, right? Well, okay, you know what? No, the max damage would be Q first, because the extra buff would be better than the Buster start, right? Yeah, it would be better. Yeah, it would. But yeah, it's a bit awkward, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, it's better, but it's not really a big buff or anything like that, so, yeah. And the second skill, used to be just a 1-turn absorb but a 5-turn cooldown. It's still a 1-turn absorb for a 5-turn cooldown, but at least now she has a bit more crit damage and a battery. I don't like this buff too much. It's definitely a better buff than the first one, but she doesn't need a battery. Who thought a battery was something that she needed? Her gains are nuts. Where does she need a battery? She could have used other stuff, like more utility elsewhere. I don't really get the addition of a battery. Her gains are like arguably like the best Eddie Saber has. Well, maybe not best, but you know, definitely top. It's kind of weird. But it's still an okay skill now, because it's a 30% battery and a 5-turn cooldown, which is not bad. Kind of odd, though. And then she has my Mind's Eye Falls, which, again, I actually prefer Falls here instead of Real. I think the crit damage suits her better than the defense up. So it's a basic defensive option. So her kit, even after the buffs, still somewhat basic. But, you know, her numbers are still the carrying factor here. They have always been the carrying factor. They're really good numbers. Magic Resist sucks. Writing E, sadly. yeah, if only it was better. And then the MP itself, sadly defense down after damage, but it's 3-turn 30%, so the number is still good. So if you get like a nice crit Brave Chain follow-up, it will actually be really nice. And also, it's not just the basic MP. It does have an added normal effect of ignoring defense as well, which is nice. So it could be a lot worse than this. So this is one of the cases where the normal numbers carry a lot. I still think she's probably here. Is one of the A's again. It's definitely one of the A's. But how much weight do I put on the numbers? I still think... Okay, this might be a slightly biased one, but I still think A+ is fair. Chuki with the flat B. Okay, if you would place Okita in flat B, I don't know what you're using in this game. But again, yeah, I think I'll just leave her here, okay? Call it biased if you want, that's fair, but she's just really good. So, like, she's just a very consistent character. Like, she's like a train that never stops. Because even though her uptime isn't that great on the skills, their numbers make it so that her downtime is very effective, right? She can kind of spam her MP very easily. And it's a pretty damaging MP too. But yes, if you want to place her in A, I understand. But this is where I'm placing her. Mordred. Another year 1 servant. AOE Buster, much like the daddy. Her attack slightly, sadly, slightly below average though. Actually, wait, no, it's above actually of average, but lower than Papa, right? So yeah, numbers are slightly better. Her gains are just a bit better than Artoria's and some of the other ones we've seen before. Luckily, not the biggest difference, but a slightly bit better with the triple hitter arts. Obviously, this number came down as well, but still, I think her gains are better. Start gain, forget about it. Mana burst A, sad. Wish this was got a buff as well, like her daddy and many others. At least the, you know, the instinct was buffed. So now, with this, honestly... So, yeah, speaking of this, what would I rate Mordred as? A farmer or a DPS? I could maybe do both, honestly. She can do both well enough. Yeah, she could definitely do DPS and boss well enough. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, fair. This is a big reason why she can be a better DPS. Because with this, she can actually be a pretty okay crit damage dealer. You get so with this, you're basically going to get crits with your busters, more or less guaranteed for that one turn. Sadly, I wish it was 3 turns of crit damage instead of 3 times 3 turns, because it's only 50%. But at least it also comes with battery. So this is very reminiscent of someone like Lancer, Artoria, Alter, right? The second skill. So it's going to give you like a one nice crit turn. Still not the best thing ever, but I mean, anything beats an instinct. Some enemies get a shit ton of HP and kind of need face card to kill, so this skill is good. Yeah, sure. I guess it could be helpful on farm too. Mostly against bosses, but yeah, sure. Then her unique third skill, Self-Cleanse, defense up 50% one turn. But sadly, unlike her daddy, right, she has 2 problems that make her harder to loop with. The battery is a 6-turn cooldown, and her refund is 10% on base. instead of 20. If she was the same, ooh, baby. So yeah, you will actually, this will restrict your Mystic Code. Oh right, the upgraded MP, right? Yeah. But yeah, with the cooldown still, yeah, my bad. With the cooldown, you will still be, you are restricted to Atlas though. So it's not as easy and free of an option as Artoria, which also means you'll be missing out on some damage from Mystic Code too. But still, very doable, I suppose. You can do like, right, double Witch Atlas, right? But we'll have someone else later who probably, you know, is the same boat that might just, you know, do it a lot better. But yeah, it's doable, so I'll give her some points. Very doable. Magic Resist B, decent. Writing B, no. I guess if you want to bring her against like Artoria Sabers, then you know what, this append might actually make a difference if you want. And then the MP. Arthur damage. In some cases, it's actually really good if you're fighting like Lancer versions. Then it's like top tier. But in a lot of cases, it's kind of negligible. Huh? Yeah. And then, yeah, luckily with the buff, it is 20%. So you can actually do the loop without plug suits. So Mordred fans rejoice. It's not the worst case scenario. You can absolutely still do it. And she's not terrible against bosses either. Might not be the best thing ever. Actually pretty average maybe, but still, it's something. I will put a bit more emphasis on the farm here. So which of the A's is it? Is it A? Is it just an A? Because there will be another one later that is, if we're gonna be looking at farm, she's gonna be doing it a lot better. I don't think I think B plus is too little, because she can do the Buster farm without a plug suit now. So I think A is fair. It's actually quite nice to have. I think A is very fair. A is too high. Well, you're free to disagree, I guess. She's worse Saber and worse Arthur. I mean, she's a full tier below Artoria here, so, you know. With Suzuka. Well, I didn't rate Suzuka as a farmer anyway. I rate her most. I mean, Mordred does get some points, but, you know, she can do bosses too, but I will more emphasize the farming capability here. Are they in the order of the tiers? No, this order doesn't really mean anything. And in fact, you shouldn't really compare like 5 stars with 4 stars anyway. They're kind of being compared in their own rarities, if anything. But I don't want to make like 3 different lists for Saber. That would be too much. I'll think about this. For now, I'll leave her an A though. I'll think about it, because there will be some very similar ones later. So we'll see. Alright, now this is a tricky one. Umu Bride. Single target arts DPS, but also a very notable support. She can do both. 11.6k attack, just above average. Gains actually pretty good. Obviously, I would prefer triple arts, but the deck is okay as is. Gains are still fine. Definitely above average. Anyone who's used that can tell you that. Not Okita level gains, but still good. Best MP damage without needs of all SSR. You mean Umu Bride here, Jord? Is that true? Interesting. So yeah, not bad for the numbers, I suppose. This is a great skill. One ally, 45% MP gain 3 turns and a 30% battery. How about that? Long cooldown though, so for bosses it's somewhat awkward. But for farming, it's really good because the cooldown doesn't really matter. But yeah, it depends on where you or how you use her, I suppose. On how good the skill actually is. Also, she's insanely flexible because all 3 of her skills are targeted. Something to note as well, I suppose, if you want to use her with like another DPS on a boss. Target attack up 40%, 3 turns, very nice. And star gen 50%. I would maybe prefer crit damage here over star again, but not bad still. You know, flexibility makes it a bit better than what the numbers actually are on a 6-turn cooldown. And then the third skill, which got a really interesting buff. I guess this is mostly lore based, but yeah, 5-turn cooldown, heal 1 ally up to 3k, 20% defense, 30, yeah, 3 turns, not too bad. I wish it was 30 though. And then damage against Sky, 3 turns for 30%. Yeah, I guess it's not the rarest thing ever, but interesting. Musashi has highest MP damage. Yeah, I don't have shards for this, but yeah. Magic Receipt could be higher. Riding B. Again, most of these sabers don't really care too much for this. Then the MP, which also has been buffed, but the effects still are actually good. I wish the defense down was before damage, but it's 5 turns though. So 20% 5 turns is actually quite nice. And then another effect I really like against bosses is crit chance down. Also 5 turns, 20%. The burn, who cares? But these two are actually great. So there is actually some OC potential here because of the really good scaling here on the 5 turn effects. OC might not even be that bad for her as an option if you're fighting bosses. And then I guess the Bond CE is also worth mentioning. This is if you need even more help with your arts looping, this is something you want to bring. It's party arts up 50%, so a very, very usable Bond CE to make life a bit easier if needed. Obviously bring bonus if you can, but if you need that, then bring it. I don't know what to do with Bride. Some people were saying EX. I can't place her in EX, honestly. I don't think so. I don't think I can place her in EX. She's kind of... she's still obviously good. Like, it's better as a support than DPS in my opinion, but... I don't think she's like that much above the rest. Because there's so many options nowadays. So many options. So I don't think EX is something I can do. Even in fact, I don't think I even placed her in EX last year when we didn't. I mean, obviously the existence of the Buster stuff doesn't really make too much. I mean, she's a generic one most of the time, but it doesn't really sway too much. It's mostly the art stuff, if anything, because she's like about the MP gains. But yeah, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. A+ is still an amazing rating, isn't it? So there you go. She's better than Lanling though. Okay, Hans. Okay, I have to keep. Don't compare her to a 4-star. Don't. I'm just. These are all sabers, dude. They're like. It's unfair, dude. It's unfair. Don't. You should not do that comparison. Okay. They're both great on their own rights and whatnot. Okay. I'm gonna stick with this placement. But if you want to place Bride in EX, go for it. This is what I'm gonna do though. Holy shit, this stream is so long, dude. Okay, now I at least have an idea of next week, maybe, for the next one. Alright, Void Shiki. AoE arts, DPS. Attack, pretty low. Not terrible, but pretty low. Gains are okay. Double arts, double buster, triple arts would make more sense, but it's okay. Yeah. Not bad gains. Not bad. Not amazing, but not bad. Skills. So her version of the arts mana burst, I guess. Slightly nerfed with the value because she also gets ignore invul for 1 turn, and yeah, the good old AoE death res down. Oh baby. Yeah, it's an okay skill. Mostly because of the utility on the ignore invul. It's an okay skill. Not that good. Second skill. Self-attack up 3 turns, 25%. I don't think it would hurt if it was 35%, honestly. 25% seems kind of weak now. Mental debuff resistance 3 turns, 36%. Yeah, this is definitely one of the weaker 3-turn self-buffs there is now, I feel like. Especially in an SSR. While it's not bad, it's certainly very outdated at this point. This would not exist if she was released this day, I can guarantee you that much. At least not in this form. Then the third skill, unlike Assassin, she has the opposite, where she sacrifices Gauge to get a heal. And this is actually, funnily enough, the exact same skill that, effect-wise, that Artoria has. They're different names, but it's the exact same values and everything. So you sacrifice 10% Gauge to get a pretty fat heal of 5k. On a 4-turn cooldown, so you know she can get some consistent heals going on, I guess. And honestly, what should I rate? Can I rate her as a farmer? Not really. She doesn't loop. Definitely doesn't loop. So I guess I'll be mostly looking at bosses here. So again, in bosses, this skill can have some value. In farming, it's completely useless. In fact, it's in the buried on farming. But yeah, I'm just going to be placing her against bosses here. I've actually used her too. Like in that Leonidas CQ, she was actually pretty good. The one-time insta-kill works. Magic Grise is nice for that. Then she gets a lot of interesting passives. Crit damage, more mental debuff res, and I guess, you know, insta-kill resistance. She likes the number 6, alright. And then a rainbow buff of 6s. It's not bad. It's cute, I guess. I mean, I would prefer like a higher number for arts, but, you know, it's a rainbow buff, so that's cute, I guess. Just permanent card performance on all of them. And then the MP is actually good, minus the OC. So, just ignore the insta-kill against bosses, unless it's the Leonidas fight where you kill normal mobs as well. It's most likely not really going to do that much of a difference, but the normal effects are good, at least. So first of all, ignore defense buffs is great. Easier to do damage. Party-wide cleanse of all debuffs, never hurts, actually quite nice. And then party 10% battery. So immediately some refund, because, you know, the one hit certainly won't give you much. Helps your party as well. So even despite the shitty OC, it's a great MP, I would say. Does a lot of damage too, actually, with the buff. Good damage potential. I think that's what she really is most. Some utility and mostly damage. Besides that, doesn't really bring too much to the table. We're definitely looking at probably one of the B tiers, I think. Maybe a B+ with the MP upgrade. I still like her. I use her sometimes too. She's not bad at all. She's kind of easy to keep alive as well, especially if you bring other defensive skills on your support. She has a lot of HP, chunky heal, and low turn cooldown. Yeah. I think I'll keep her here. Can you see that Salter is better? Well, I would definitely bring Shiki over Salter for challenge quests, but you do you, I guess. I mean, it's, again, it's unfair to compare 5 to a 4-star anyway. Right, still some to go. Musashi. Still works. Classic Unga Boonga. Attack higher than average, single target, a buster, a deeps. Full-on gorilla deck. Gains on normally kind of bad, but with her first skill active, actually can be somewhat juicy. Not bad. But without that skill, don't expect much. Just don't. Star Gen can also be okay with the third skill active. And also if you have the first skill active, a combination of the both. So, yeah, she can get good gains on both. But a lot of times, not really. But still, slaps pretty well with the triple buster. Consistent, you know, red damage, I guess. Speaking of the first skill, there you go. Double hits on all your normal attacks, including extra. Kinda nuts. Kinda nuts. Sadly, a 6-turn cooldown. I feel like it's too much, though. It's not that great that it should be a 6-turn cooldown. It should be 5. It should definitely be 5. Kind of unnecessarily high. It's a good effect, though, but yeah. I don't know. Ignore Invul 1 turn. And so, what this is, right here, it's a better mana burst. It's just strictly a better mana burst. In every way. Because she has Ignore Invul. Still not great, though. It's okay. So yeah, this is something she's the downtime. And honestly, if you're going to be an Unga Boonga servant and you're going to have a lot of downtime, it's not a great combo necessarily. For Okita, I feel like downtime is not as bad because her gains are so good. So at least she can keep her MPs rolling. But if you're going to be full-on Unga Boonga and you have like no buffs to go with for most of your turns, your supports are definitely going to be doing most of the lifting at that point. Which works, but yeah, something to note. Self-Invul 1 turn, a 6-turn cooldown, so it's the standard for that. Star Gen 3 turns. Not a whole lot though, but you know, if you have the first skill active, you can get some good gen like I said, and a self-cleanse never hurts. Magic Crusade is nice against bosses. Berserker bonus is great sometimes, so a usable append for the third one. And then the MP has been buffed, which is actually really nice. Really, really nice. But there is one annoying part about it, that the buff removal happens after damage. Don't like that. Nice juicy MP damage though before damage for 1 turn. That's nice. And I guess now she's one of the best anti-alter egos in the game. Not the best Moon Cancer though, because you're definitely being ruler there, but against alter ego, she might be the best anti-alter ego in the game with this, because she's gonna be full neutral otherwise, and you know the MP will slap, I guess. Well, I guess no, not anymore nowadays, because we have how does the triangle works now again? What was the anti-class now? Yeah, now we have pretenders. You know what? Yeah, never mind. I guess that statement is not true anymore. I guess, yeah, she's not the best anti-alter ego anymore. She was until pretender was a thing. Yeah, okay. But you know what? The MP still slaps really hard. I just wish this was before damage. God damn it. She's basic, but she slaps. Is she the same as Okita? Maybe. 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 Okita definitely has the better downtime, though. I don't know. I don't know what to do here. Well, it's one of the A's. One of the A's. They might be the same. They usually tend to rank the same, right? Maybe she's the same with the MP buff, you know? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe with the MP buff, I can probably put her on the same tier. Okay. Yeah, she's still solid, of course. She's still gonna always be a good single target Saber. No matter what. Honestly, maybe they're the same tier, but maybe Okita is like a slightly higher A+, if anything. Maybe that's the difference, but there's, you know, both are still great. Hidori, a single Kama comment. Okay, in my opinion, Musashi is better anti-alter ego than Kama. The problem I have with Kama, I didn't want to talk about it because this is not an assassin list, but Kama, remember, when the skill is not active, she's gonna get clapped. Like, what the fuck? It's stupid awkward. At least Musashi is always gonna be neutral, and the MP will do great damage. So, I hate... Like, unless you do the fight in 3 turns, Kama is gonna get clapped sometimes, so... Yeah. I hate how awkward it is. I prefer the consistency of Musashi instead. I would absolutely... If Pretenders didn't exist, I would use MP buffed Musashi over Kama against an alter ego. Kama can loop, though? That's fine. Sometimes you can't do everything in 3 turns, though. Then what, genius? Then what, you know? Okay? And Musashi gets reduced damage, unlike Kama, who gets clapped half of the times. So, yeah. Again, this is not a topic for that, though. Alright, Arthur. Where's my boy? There he is. AOE Busta. Once again. He's not even the last one on the list. Attack is actually pretty good. Definitely on the higher side of SSRs. Very nice, Sue. The usual deck you've seen all day here with most of these Sabers. Even the numbers seem to match. Extra has a bit of extra stuff in the quick, but besides that, yeah, his gains are still more or less the same. If not slightly higher than compared to like Artoria Mordred. More or less the same though. Stargen, forget about it. Mana Burst A used to be terrible. Now he has one of the best buster buffs in the entire game. Maybe actually just the best. Is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Self 5 or 3 turn 50% buster on a 5 turn cooldown. Even this alone would be great. But he also has MP gain now too for 3 turns. What the fuck? This is an insane skill. It's like, it's basic, but the numbers make it crazy. Basic, but crazy. Just ridiculous. How is this buff even allowed? Anyway. Second skill. Used to suck. Also, like Mordred, now has crit potential. Has a bigger bomb, but this one, sadly, does not come with Absorb. But it's a lot of stars, so chances are you can crit anyway. Because it's, you know, that for that 1 turn. His crit damage, though, it is for 3 turns. So, I like that. Instead of, like, 3 attacks, 3 turns. It's just flat out 3 turns. Downtime, not too bad either. Now, if anything, his third skill is the worst of his kit. Easily, actually. Super large trope. Up to 100% damage for 1 turn. Kinda niche. Most bosses you're gonna fight, you're not gonna have this. Most farm you're gonna do, they're not gonna have this. And then a 20% flat battery. That's a shame, isn't it? It's a shame. It's kind of a shame. Mordred and Artoria are laughing somewhere. Kind of a shame. I don't even know what else. Again, I think I'll rate Arthur as a DPS rather than a farmer, right? Probably. He can do looping as well, but I mean, there's so many other options, right? So yeah, I definitely, I think I would rate her as a DPS instead. Magic Rosé. Good for bosses. Riding B. Negligible. And then the MP, easily his weakest part. Man, is that a weak MP? 10% MP damage for one turn. Are you kidding me? We've seen so many 30%, and he has no other normal effects. They haven't even buffed the damage. What is this MP? He's supposed to have an insanely strong MP. It's Excalibur, bro. What the fuck? If they ever buff this, he's gonna be so much better. But it's a noodle. It's a noodle, is what it is. It's a damn noodle. Such a disappointment. It even looks, it's one of the coolest MPs in the game. Why is it so bad? Why is it so bad? Oh my god. Anyway, his first and second, especially his first skill is insane though. And, you know. So now comes the comparisons again, huh? Where's Mordred again, huh? I don't know what to do here, honestly. I don't know what to do. I don't know. Mordred has an easier time farming, but I feel like Arthur might be a bit more consistent against bosses. I hate the MP though, dude. I hate the MP. I like the skills more though. Maybe they break even because of that. I don't know, dude. This is a tough one. Man, his MP sucks. Yeah, if he had an MP buff, he would be here at least. If he was an Ereshkigal buff, he might be here. Probably not though, but at least here. Yeah, it's just... the MP holds him back for sure. Definitely holds him back. Still fine though, after those two buffs, but... yeah, his potential has not been reached yet. I wish to see the MP buff someday. Sigurd. Ya boy. Ya boy. High attack. Single target buster DPS. Very nice attack, in fact. Gains, actually good. They are pretty damn nice. They're not, again, Okita levels, but basically no one is here for the single targets. But they're good. Good refund potential. I like the deck, actually, as double buster, double arts. I think it's the best deck he could have asked for damage and gains. Stargen, honestly, not terrible either, especially if you have his third skill active. So his numbers are great. That's good. Great numbers. But then we get to the skills that they're not as great as his numbers. So, first skill, 5 turn cooldown. Crit damage, 3 attacks, 3 turns. While the 100% is juicy, that's the only effect. And he doesn't even have other really crit synergy. He's lacking absorb as well. And Saber base absorb is not the best unless you're swimming in stars. So it's a bit disappointing. Second skill, awkward as hell. It's his mana burst. But because it's his guts as well, the cooldown is 7 turns. 7 turns for a 1-turn buster buff. And the guts isn't even great. It's not even a 5-turn one. It's a 1x 3. How is it 7 turns? What justifies this being 7 turns? What the hell? It's not only is it awkward to use, why is the cooldown so big? It should be 6 or 5 even, maybe. 7 is way too high for this. It's not that good. Arguably, in some cases, worse than a normal mana burst because of the 2 turns higher cooldown. Weird. Just weird. And then this skill. Again, downtime is big because it's another 1-turn effect. Big Stargen for 1 ally, which probably most likely will go on himself, most likely, but you know, it's not bad for him too, honestly, if you can get a nice Brave Chain. And debuff immune, 1 turn, 5-turn cooldown. Could it not be like 2 turns, 3 turns? It's weak. It's weak. Why are his skills still untouched? Why? His skills need so much more love. His numbers are great, and even after the buff, the MP is also pretty great. But the skills are bad. It's just this is a year 3 question mark SSR. How is this allowed? What happened? Anyway, Magic Rose is nice. Writing B doesn't really matter too much, nor does Divinity B. Then the MP actually does a lot of damage, even if you're not fighting Dragon. It's good base damage, and unlike Rama, he doesn't need his niche to always drain the enemy. This is a great normal effect. Gauge down is, and it's a guaranteed one at that. This one cannot even be avoided with like resistances. This will always happen. So it's still a great MP in my opinion, even outside of dragons. So great MP, great numbers, bad skills. That's Sigurd in a nutshell. So having said that, after the B plus A, I don't know. I don't like his skills though. They're weak. They're weak saws. His downtime at least isn't horrible. That's the silver lining, but yeah. I think I'm gonna go with B plus, honestly. Yeah. Again, don't compare him to 4 stars, but yeah, still. He needs skill buffs, at least 2. unless the first one he ever gets, if he gets one, is massive, but yeah. Still fine. Good numbers, good damage, but skills are disappointing as hell. Speaking of skills not being disappointing, okay, here we got some better stuff at least. Benyon, okay, single target arts DPS slash support. Can kind of do both. Half and half. Attack, slightly above average, not too shabby. Deck, would prefer triple arts, but it's okay. Better, I guess, more consistent damage potential this way. Gains are definitely above average, not god tier, but good for sure. Star Gen, if you have a nice turn with that one quick card, it can be okay. Besides that, no. Just no. Aftermind Falls, I guess, you know, gives her a bit more offense. Some might say the True might be better for defense. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But still, it's an okay skill. It's always an okay defensive skill. Second skill, not bad. 3-turn AoE defense down 20%. And honestly, more importantly, AoE crit chance down 3 turns 30%. And an MP seal guaranteed to land, which is really good for delay. You can use this turn 1 because it still prevents a tick, so it's great. And demerit that literally will never make a difference. It's like this demerit is the least demerit you will ever see. Heal enemy 1k. If this will ever make a difference, just go do lottery or something. This demerit, it might as well not be there. It's a lore thing, if anything. Great skill. I think this is kind of fair on 6th turn because of if the MP seal wasn't there, I wish this was 5 turns. But with the MP seal, I think it's great. It's great. It's a great skill. Very good. Just good. Good cripple on the enemy. Good crippling. Then another great skill, party AoE. This is just like just a so much better version of a charisma. 20% party attack up 3 turns. Now this can actually be huge sometimes. If you max it, your buffs will not get removed for a turn. If you timed as well, if you know there's something like this happening, which, you know, a certain last spell 5.2 fight comes to mind, very great there. Yeah, it can make a big difference. And also a nice fat 20% party battery. Always a great effect. Always great. And I guess sometimes the party 1k heal is good as well. And again, the demerit doesn't matter. Great skill again. These two, great. This one, just okay. But at least she has a nice defensive option, so. Magic Crusade is nice. Independent Actually is, you know, nice. I guess she has this too. Yeah, like look at this compared to like year 1 stuff. Star Gen sometimes helps with the one quick card, I guess. This is really nice. The 10% arts up. And also, this is like just icing on the cake. She cannot be skill sealed. That is nice. That is a nice utility to have. Considering how nice her skills are, this is great. Because remember, if you're skill sealed, your cooldowns won't tick down. So that's also something to consider. That is, yeah, she's kind of cracked on the passives, needless to say. Then the MP, a lot of the times it's kind of weak if you can't get either of these chaotic or evil modifiers. Luckily, they're not. Sometimes these are shared, so an enemy has to be both. But in this case, they have individual bonuses, which is great. And it's a 1-turn buff instead of like just for the MP. So if you have a nice Brave Chain and these work, you can make a lot of damage happen. Like you fighting Vlad, boom, he's gone. He's just dead. So yeah, still a pretty weak MP though, I would say, mostly, but definitely good numbers, great skills, great passives. Mostly, she's probably going to be a solo DPS. A lot of the times you bring her, support, and then maybe another Saber DPS, and you're going to be looking at pretty consistent, you know, stuff. I think A+ is right at home. I think if I had to guess, this is probably where I placed her last year as well. I think she maintains. She's still a great choice in a lot of challenge quests where you need a Saber. Just great. Solid. Consistent. Yeah, that too, bless, yes. 5 more to go. Jesus, I'm not sure if I can upload this video today. It might have to go overnight. This is way longer than I thought it was going to be. Remember, 2 hours at most. Good joke. All right. The latest in NA actually of the Sabers, 5 stars that is, Saber Stolf. Now I think he's a bit underrated. He obviously gets compared to Okita a lot, which makes sense. Single target quick SSR Saber DPS, but I think he's not bad at all, honestly. So attack. Not as good as Okita, but it's definitely above average for SSRs. Deck is fine. It's different from Okita's. It's double arts, double quick instead of double buster. But yeah, it's actually good for gains, if anything. But in a weird way, he probably should have double buster though, right? Because of one of the skills. So for gains, it's good, but for one of the skills, it's really awkward. Yeah. Anyway, numbers are actually not bad at all. Star generation also very worth mentioning. Can do good star gen, like Okita, like Diarmuid, like many others. Caesar, you know, quick, makes sense. Now, he has received the buff as well, which is very nice. So the first skill now is actually pretty juicy. It's a 20% battery self, 20% MP per turn for 3 turns, self-cleanse and a 20 bomb on a 5-turn cooldown. Now this skill alone is like almost better than Okita's all of her skills. Almost. That's a lot of stuff on a low cooldown. This is an amazing skill. Like this is an EX tier skill is what it is. Among all servants, this is an EX tier skill. Absolutely nuts. Second skill, AoE Terror. So, you know, every turn for 3 turns, there's a up to 40% chance an enemy gets stunned. They might not get stunned at all. They might just, you know, it might just expire. But chances are, with 40%, you're probably going to stun them. If they can be stunned, that is. So it's pretty great for some boss utility. And this is nice. It's like a mini PF. It's evasion for 3 attacks, 3 turns. 6-turn cooldown also is fair, considering it's an AoE stun potentially. Well, not AoE, but, you know, per enemy. And for a 3-turn evasion, another just pretty solid skill, if anything, you know? Great. Just great. You can kind of pop this immediately because of the hit-based evasion as well. So, great skill. Then this skill, yeah, this is the awkward one. 20% attack for 3 turns. On a 5-turn cooldown, I guess it's fair. Crit damage, only 30%. I wish it was like at least 40, but still okay. And then, yeah, not only is it just Buster Absorb, it's 3 turns. Why? I don't get it. I guess it's 3 turns, so at least you'll get that once every rotation, granted no one dies in your team. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. He has 1 Buster card. It just doesn't make any sense. So in a lot of chains, you don't even want to use the Buster card unless it's like you have to use it to get a Brave Chit or something. You'd probably get the gains instead. It's weird. Definitely very weird. But you know, one thing's for sure, his entire skill set is so much better than Okita's at least. So at least there he wins with the skills. Magic Rosé is nice, and Riding A obviously very nice as well. And then the MP, also very nice. Quick up 3 turns before damage at 20% base. And a guaranteed MP still if they can be debuffed. Like, actually another good MP. Like, his kit is great. It's actually good. God damn, dude. His MP is better than Okita's in most cases, probably. And his skills are definitely better. Now, the question is, do I place him on the same tier? Or, well, he's at least an A, I'll tell you that much. But, I don't know. This is a hard one. This is a hard one. Fuck, dude. Oh my god, I can't decide. I just really like how nice his kit is, though. It's so nice. It's so nice. It's so good against bosses as well. It's so good. The utility is kind of crazy. I want to place him in A+. While his numbers might not be as good as Okita's, I think he makes up with other stuff, with the MP being better and the kit for sure being better. His MP gain is so bad. I mean, he has a 5-turn battery and MP per turn for 3. It's most turns you're gonna get MP per turn anyway. So yeah, if you want to play Saber, that's fair. I just really like his kit, so A+. Alright, here we go. Speaking of single target sabers, I bet a lot of people have been waiting for this. Dioscuri, Castor and Pollux, the twins. Single target arts DPS saber. Attack above average, not as good as some of the other ones we've seen like Sigurd and Okita, but still not bad at all. Double arts, double quick, perfect deck. Looking at their kit later, that deck is absolutely perfect, and the hit count is insane. Star Gen, not bad, but also their kit makes it even better. Gains also good, definitely good, even better when the kit is inactive. So yeah, so let's take a look at said kit, right? First skill, for 3 turns all of your quicks will give you 10% MP gauge when used. How nice is that? And for 3 turns all of your arts cards will give you 10 stars. Half the time this will be active. Pretty solid. Again, looking at the deck, also keep in mind this works with the MP. If you have this active, your MP will also give you a bonus 10 stars. This doesn't say normal attacks. It's every card of this type. Yeah. Second skill. Not gonna lie, not the best skill ever. Downtime is a bit big, but party MP damage. I wish this was a bit more selfish, if anything. Also party attack. Just like a Voyager of the Storm. That's just, it's a better version of Voyager of the Storm, because it also has the, if anything, the third thing might be the best thing. The party debuff immune for 1 time 3 turns. So this could actually be pretty decent against bosses. Overall, it's an okay skill. Not great though, but it's okay. Just a better Voyager. Not the servant, the skill. And then their version of the mana burst, which is split into both arts and quick, but instead of being 1 turn, it's 3 turns and also comes with evasion. So slightly awkward because it's an offense mixed with defense, but a lot of the times you can kind of pop this anyway, because let's be real, you're going to be running Dioscuri with Castoria, at least one of them from support, and they can protect you pretty well with the special invul. So you can, in a lot of cases, you can kind of ignore the evasion anyway. So just make sure you have these for to get the engine running better, basically. Now, passives. Oh my god, the passives. Okay. First of all, Magic Res A is already very solid. Riding B, actually kind of good with their deck. This one doesn't really matter too much, the Buster Up. There's only 1 Buster card. And then they have Avenger passives, yes. So they get more MP if they get hit. They get more crit damage and, you know, just added MP per turn as well. Also more tickling, and this is just like the best version of Divinity there is, because it also comes with MP gain and then crit gen. Like, look at these passives, bro. It's even better than Benien, my dude. Oh my god. And then the MP, it's kind of disgusting. So it's one of those MPs that you will not escape unless you have Castoria. Ignore invul for 1 turn before damage. Ignore defense. This is after damage, but it's fine because the follow-ups are so juicy in combination with the arts up, quick up, these with the arts and quick, and also these resistances down. Like, it's a train that kind of never ends. It's kind of ridiculous. Like, this MP, they don't care. They're just gonna hit you. They're just gonna hit you. And the best of all, it's not ignore invul for the MP alone, it's for the whole turn. So your follow-ups will hit as well. Just, like, the synergy is kind of off the charts. I could maybe see an argument for A+, but I have to put the BDEX. Again, just because they're the best single target Saber doesn't guarantee that they're gonna be in EX. But after using them for quite a bit, they're just so nuts, dude. Just so nuts. Like if you've never used them, especially if you're an NA player, try them out when they happen. With Castorias preferably and whatnot. It is ridiculous. Just a train that never ends. Also, they're permanent, so one of the spooks that people will be wishing for the most, if I had to guess. So yeah, that's cool. 3 more, and it's pretty big ones. Okay, so we finally have the last AoE Buster Saber in Ibuki Douji. full-on gorilla mode, very high attack, 12.7k. That is no joke. Gains, honestly, not bad for a gorilla deck. I mean, still, you know, it's, you know, have to fish for the cards and stuff, but, you know, there's other stuff that helps with that as well. So Ibuki is one of those cases that you can use in both DPS or farm. She's actually very solid for both. You will need a plug suit if you want to do the double witch one because the battery cooldown, but what you get in return is a lot of damage, right? Oh yeah, you know, let's fix this. There you go, that's better. Okay, I agree. You get a lot of fucking damage. Her kit is kind of loaded with that. So let's take a look at the kid after the high numbers, I suppose. Now, if you're farming, this is a lot better because it's only a 3-time attack buff, so it's going to be consumed on the MPs. If you're not farming, it's a bit less good, but at least it still has the fat 50% battery. But yeah, because of the 6-turn cooldown, if you want to run without a plug suit, you will need Atlas with double Vich. But I think it's kind of a small price to pay, if anything, you know, I suppose, because the damage is kind of nuts. And remember, with Buster looping, the composition of the enemy doesn't really matter. You can do like a 1-1-2 node if you want, even on AoE with here, because there's so much damage. Buster up 3 turns, 30%, not too shabby. Defense up, actually 30% on a 5-turn cooldown. It's really big. It's definitely on the higher side. And then 20 star bomb. Great skill for both. I guess helps with the farm, and even better if you're fighting bosses. So just a very solid skill right here. Then the third skill, which I think is her weakest skill. So guaranteed MP seal is nice for sure. Crit damage for 3 turns. It's the standard 50%, but sadly it's a 6-turn cooldown, probably because of the MP seal. And then undead damage, not even a whole lot. And undead, kind of a shitty niche, not that relevant, honestly. So it's an okay skill still, but definitely her weakest side. Magic Rosé is nice for bosses. Riding B, yeah, not the most relevant thing. Now this is a cool passive. 12% buster up and a flat 200 damage cut, which can, you know, sometimes help a little bit, but the 12% buster is pretty fat. And then on top of the 20%, she has another 20%. Wait, no, oh wait, this is not oh, it's buff removal. I thought always this was debuff res. I mean, maybe I would have preferred debuff res because this is probably not going to be consistent enough to prevent anything, so 40% debuff res might have been better. Interesting though. I did not even notice that until now. But yeah, not bad. I guess added RNG to help a little bit. And then the MP. So much like Dioscuri, this time in AoE form, you can't really escape the MP easily. Ignore invul for full 1 turn. Ignore defense. Buster is down after damage. She would be even more insane if it was before damage, but for bosses it's going to be relevant. Ooh. Now this is a modern kit right here, if anything. Modern numbers, modern kid, modern everything. Fuck, dude. What am I gonna... This is a... There's... A+ no matter what, but... Ugh, I don't know. This is such a hard placement. I feel like Artoria is an easier one to loop, obviously. She doesn't have much damage, but Ibuki also has the option to do bosses, right? Fuck, this is such a hard one. She's definitely very, very, very good. Oh my god. I think I'll go with EX. She might be on the lower side, but maybe I'll do it anyway, okay? Because again, I think Artoria is better at farming, because you probably, in most cases, you don't really need the extra damage that she brings compared to her. But she's also very good against bosses. Like, very good. Even on AoE. And some bosses you fight multiple targets anyway, right? But yeah, if someone skipped to this part, I'm not going to make an EX minus tier. But she's probably on the lower side of EX though. But yeah, she's just very damn good. Now, the man who kind of, you know, took the spotlight very short, like less than a month later, being a somewhat similar role in both that being good against bosses and farming, it's yeah boy, Mr. Sword Muramasa. AoE arts this time. Double arts, double buster deck. I feel like that's a fine deck for both, you know, bosses and, you know, no, I guess you don't really need the face cards most of the time when looping. Damage, definitely not, the attack is not as high as Ibuki. In fact, it's about average, if not slightly lower than average for SSRs. His gains are pretty good, definitely. Also better than Ibuki's, makes sense because he's arts based. Stargen, not terrible. It's something. It's alright too, especially if you have his Stargen active on the skill. So numbers wise, he's alright. He's not bad at all. I don't think his upstairs looks as good as Ibuki's though, but you know, he's still solid here. Now, he has like his own cracked version of a mana burst, I guess. He gets 50% of, you know, the entire rainbow for a turn. Also, so much absorbed that you can probably guarantee yourself all the crits for that one turn and a 15 star bomb. It's not an amazing skill, but definitely like so much better than any mana burst in the game. So yeah, this is 2.5 Geronimos in one skill, right? Yeah, there you go. How about that? And the second skill is interesting. So you get that ignore invul for one turn, and if an enemy happens to have evasion or invul, you get an extra up to 100% crit damage for one turn. And also, this is where you get the 100% star gen for 3 turns. So if you have this active, despite being mostly arts, he can actually generate a decent chunk of stars. And that will be relevant for against bosses. And he gets another just 100% crit damage for 3 turns, not 3 times, 3 turns anyway. So if someone has an invul up on the turn you activate this skill and you have crits, yeah, who cares about an MP? You're just gonna use crits. Like, the crits would so much outdamage his MP by a landslide at that point. So yeah, potentially, and even if you don't have this, it's still 100%. It's half the time active. So yeah, wow, it's kind of okay. Now, the third skill, much like Ibuki, a nice 50% battery and a 6-turn cooldown. And this one also comes with another nice effect for against bosses. So whenever you normal attack, you get up to 10% gauge back. That includes extra attack, keep in mind again. So normal Brave Chain would give you 40% MP gain just from this, and that's not even counting the stuff you get from the Brave Chain alone. So with this active, you could kind of go from 0 to 100 quite easily on a normal Brave Chain, depending on what the cards are and if you crit or what, especially if you have buffs from supports. So also a 6-turn cooldown ain't that bad. Honestly, again, his skills are kind of good, kind of damn good. Magigris B, yep, Art Territory Creation A plus or A is very much in home. And this is a cool one. Party crit damage, 5%. It's not a massive number, but it's cute, I guess. And then, you know, if the enemy happens to be a king, he gets a bit of more bonus damage, I suppose, 20%. And then the MP. Oh my, it's an MP. Oh my god, it's pretty ridiculous. So first of all, OC, 3-turn arts buff before damage, starting from 10%. So again, for looping, it ramps up, which is cool. Also 10%. Dude, this is literally Arthur's entire thing right here. Dude, it's even better. Arthur is 1 turn, 10% MP damage. That's the only effect. He has that on normal effect for 3 turns, and then all this other shit too. Like, what the fuck? Buff Arthur MP, please. Also removes offensive buffs from enemy before damage. I guess here it doesn't really matter if it's before damage, but you know, it's nice. Maybe for the class change it actually matters. Yeah, there we will matter sometimes. And it ignores defense. Like, that is an MP right there, dude. That is what a nice MP looks like. Okay, this is what Arthur wants. Okay. Yeah, again, just, I mean, if I placed Ibuki here, he has to be here too. He's not the best looper in the game. Like, you can't really like Black Grailies or anything, but he's still pretty easy to loop, needless to say. And he's not like he needs one like a Black Grail anyway, because he has quite a bit of damage in his kit regardless, so it's fine. It's still very fine. He's still, you know, very, very solid. I already knew I was going to play Saber EX even before I did this list. He was one of the obvious ones, honestly. And then we end with maybe a biased one again. The latest Saber version of my waifu, Okita Alter Saber Summer. AoE quick double buster with kinda ridiculous hit counts. Attack is a very solid 12.4k. Gains also, like every Okita in the game, even Assassin yeah, every Okita in the game, they're kind of known for their gains. So definitely very good on that side. Also kind of nuts on Star Gen too. Very good Star Gen potential, so numbers are pretty damn good. Skills. Now this makes me happy and sad because a lot of these are just kind of comparable to Alter Ego, and she just makes Alter Ego, Okita Alter, just looks so much worse, sadly. Now, self-attack up 30%, nice, it's better than, it normally might be 20. Also, Quick and Buster up 20%, 6-turn cooldown, not bad. On 3 effects, it's actually pretty good with those cooldowns and uptime. Definitely a solid skill. Self-battery, 30%, 5-turn cooldown, so again, more options have opened because of that, which is nice. Crit damage, self, 3 turns, 50%, so it's the standard, which is nice. And then only 1 turn of absorb, sadly, but I guess the trade-off is the battery. Like, compared to like a self-suggestion, which is 50%, and then 500% absorb for 3 turns, I guess the battery, you know, makes sense that it's a bit nerfed for the absorb. But again, I'm probably going to be, I should have said, I'm probably going to rate her as a farmer here, most likely. You can still do bosses as well, absolutely. But I'm probably mostly going to be emphasizing farm here for Okita, Okitan Saber. Self-invul, 2 attacks, 3 turns, 6-turn cooldown, and MP gen for 3 turns. At least it's hit-based, so it's kind of easier to pop this. So it's not as awkward if this was, you know, turn-based. Obviously for farm it wouldn't matter, but for bosses it will matter a bit, so a bit more flexible like that, which is nice. Not a bad skill. Magic Crusade is okay for bosses, and this is also okay for bosses. Berserker bonus is great sometimes, and then the MP. Now that, again, man does it make Okita Alter Ego look bad. Anyway, first of all, self-quick up 1 turn, 20% base, and removes defense buffs before damage. Compare that to Okita Alter, who only does Buster Res down after damage. Kind of sad. Yeah, great MP. Once again, great MP for both bosses and farm. She, I should also mention, she is one of the best quick loopers in the entire game. If not just the best, maybe, because she has like billion options for supports as well. You can make her loop in like a trillion different ways, right? Yeah. Now, where do I place her? I'm thinking A+ still. I don't know. Is she EX? I still feel like Buster and, you know, has better potential here, but maybe I will place her in EX. Definitely among quick loopers, she's EX for sure. Yeah, if this was a quick, like, loop list. Again, maybe like Ibuki, she's on the lower side of EX, honestly. Just because she's so easy to work with. I guess, yeah, she's so easy to... Like, you have so many options for supports. Like, so many. Like, all of the mainstream gauge supports kind of work. It's the combinations are kind of nuts. Not a lot of servants can say that, right? So, yeah. The flexibility is definitely worth emphasizing. So there you go. Do you want to move anything? Dude, this ended up being way longer than I thought. Dude, look at the gap here. Wow. Okay, well, it is what it is. There's a... God damn. Okay, so the next time I do a list, I'm definitely going to reserve the entire stream for it. Because, you know, I talk quite a bit. Yeah. I'm looking at the list right now, but honestly... I'm kind of liking it. I mean, some I could maybe see like being moved, like some you could move like a plus around, but I think overall, I think most people would be okay with this. I mean, not that it matters, because, you know, it's only my opinion, and, you know, if someone doesn't like it, then so be it. But yeah, Vargas higher, Jill lower. Yeah, lower than that. Yeah, true. Man, I had to do so much research, though. I have to research now every week, because, again, there's so many JP servants I'm not the most familiar with, but I did do a lot of researching and labbing as well to get a better idea of a lot of these servants. So you can't say I didn't try, at least, you know, on top of my, you know, normal gameplay expertise, I guess. So there you go. And you can probably hear my voice has been dying for quite a while now. That's what happens when you talk for 4 fucking hours. And this was just one class, Jesus. But I guess some classes will not be this big. Some will be even bigger, but okay. Honestly, I think I might keep them like this. So for a last shot, I can actually finally frame them in one thing without even needing to zoom out. So that's an interesting list, I suppose. Sabers? There's a lot of good sabers, needless to say. It's definitely, you know, more on the upper side with servants, right? So there you go. Cool. Yeah, the extra class list might take longer. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you... Okay, first of all, if you watch all of this, comment down below. I'm interested to know. And please be honest. Because it's kind of nuts to watch all of this. I assume, again, most people will skip throughout, watch their favorites or the ones they're interested in. And that's completely fine. I would definitely do that too. But if you watch this, leave a comment below. I'm very interested. And you're also a certified mad lad. Or mad lass, if you did it. So that will conclude the Saber list. Again, please be civil in the comments if you can. Not that anyone is going to hear this anyway at this point because it's near the end. But yeah, if you disagree, that's fine. This is just my stupid opinion, okay? And yeah, next list, I think it's Archer, I think, not Lancer. I think Archer was before Lancer. So hopefully it's next week. I'm going to try to do these every week around the same day or so, Friday/Saturday. This might come out on Saturday because, you know, this was longer than I expected. But yeah, and if you enjoyed this, please, again, do me a solid. Just press the like button. It really keeps me motivated because talking for 4 hours straight is not easy or anything like that. And subscribe for more to not miss out on the next tier list as well, which hopefully will come out weekly, and other videos I post, which are hopefully interesting to you guys as well. With that, I hope you have a great day. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next video. Peace out.